I might.
Okay.
Leah, can you
I might
see
too.
from back there? I've strung electricity up here, and then when we get to the screen, if you'll sit up here, you can see the screen a whole lot better.
Okay.
Leah, you have to sit beside me.
Okay, we are starting.
We have a
We're
commercial table here.
broadcasting. Welcome, everybody. Do y'all know, y'all probably don't even know Pete. So Pete is, I'm just gonna say, you've been with us a year. He's a friend of Hank's, and if we love Hank, you're gonna love Pete. He went to Georgia. His ringtone is "Glory, Glory to Old Georgia," except for Marty, who went to Tech.
Well, we don't
Sorry.
hold that against them.
Well, I can talk slow for you guys.
Right.
You didn't really talk this morning.
So-
Quite a beating you took.
Exactly. Ooh, listen to it.
Bobby, if you will. So if you guys will, go ahead and sign the list so that we've got your email address, because part of what's going to happen in the future is when we get to the part where you have to get paid, you have to do the command stuff, at least we'll know who's been trained and who hasn't been trained. So if you will, just sign that sheet, give me your name and email address, and we can keep up with well, Scott, I mean, SOL, buddy.
Lena's here too.
I know.
There's two commercial people in here.
I know
Redheaded
it.
Steph
I want to
Jones.
know how to
against
get
the world.
paid.
Yeah, but
So
she's
we-
going to use the tool, you're
We
not.
don't know what we're doing.
Well, it depends on who's closing the deal.
I know, even after training.
I may
Alright.
I'm coming to Stacy's desk and she's gonna do it for me.
Ah, so nothing changes.
At least for the
Is-
next
yeah,
month,
Help is
anyway.
always here. Help is here. So, y'all ready to get started?
You can hold that.
Which one, do you have your flip
All
over?
right, so when I go through the clicker, what will happen is if you switch screens back and forth, then my mouse doesn't work. And so if you
Wait,
switch
behind you.
back and forth, and
Kelly.
then click, and it goes right here, and then my mouse will start working again. Does that make sense?
So, do you want anything yet, or are we just as is?
Well,
Can we go ahead and tee this
yeah,
up?
we did the video first, because if there's anybody online, then they're going, when is this thing starting?
Price, that's good.
Well, you could have, but you wouldn't be able to see.
She doesn't even want this.
Because that is.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, just for the record, let the record show that with all of our classes, 100%, we had some issues yesterday, but we're gonna live stream it, so if you're at home, welcome. And then as soon as the class is over, about 15 minutes later, it's available on our YouTube channel, KW Space Perimeter, to watch as many times as you want to at your convenience, because you're probably not going to remember everything that Pete goes over today. Nobody would. I mean, in 2 hours. So, but it's going to be good. It's great. It's a great system. Way better than what we've had.
And one of the things, if you do watch it at home, you can, anytime you're on YouTube, you can always pause it and rewind it. Here's a little trick. If you're ever watching YouTube, on the keyboard, on the J, K, and L keys on your keyboard, K will always pause it, and J will rewind it just a tad, and L will fast forward just a little bit. So if you ever, instead of trying to drag that mouse and, oh my God, I went back 7 minutes, I'll never find where I was, just hit K to pause, J to rewind like 30 seconds, and L to fast forward about 30 seconds.
I will send that out in an email, because I have never heard that before.
Mind blown.
Who'd have thought?
See, right
Now
there, you learn something
Now
worth
you can
saying.
go home.
Exactly.
All right?
Right out of the gate.
Okay, and one of the things for anybody that's watching at home that we try to do, and sometimes we slip up, is we're going to show my screen a lot of the time, all right? If you're here, you can obviously see it, but if you're home, sometimes you can't. But sometimes, you know, it'll be on the whole room, and you won't be able to see the screen at all. So Stacy's driving that today, and hopefully so the folks at home will be able to see the screen. So anyway, my name is Pete English. That's my email address if you need me, and you know, I'm happy to help. I don't know all the answers, so if I don't, then just go to Stacy, because she knows more than I do. All right, we're going to start today with a pop quiz, just to see what we got to work with. It'll help me out a little bit. Anybody that can answer the question doesn't have to take the class. Will that work? Nobody was here yesterday, correct? This is the same question. Who was the first person to download files from the cloud onto a tablet.
Jesus. Oh, Moses, yeah. Oh, Jesus.
All right, you got to stay and take the test twice.
Moses.
Eileen knows because she was there.
Because I'm an angel here now.
There you go.
Supposedly, all of our souls were there. If
Yeah.
you really want to be biblical about it, we were all there.
All right, so I sent out an email the other day, or Stacy sent out an email the other day asking you some information about what do you use a Mac and all that kind of stuff. So it gives us a better idea of when we're training, what are the hot issues or what do we need to teach to. So 100% of the people using an iPhone and a Macintosh, and I would teach the class totally different than if some of you use Windows and that sort of thing. So Stacy, if you will, click on that link right there, and this is going to show us a little bit of, and it'll pop up here in just that's all right, let it go. All right, so 73% of all of the people that respond to this survey use iPhones. Okay, you would have thought it was 100%, but it's not. Okay, and scroll down a little bit for us. All right, but the vast majority of people
Driver.
are using Windows PCs, and if you watch the video, what I've learned here is that most people have never watched my video, so you'll understand. In the video it says Command will support Windows, Macintosh, and Chromebooks. Okay? No tablets. So if you've got an Android tablet or if you've got an iPad, it won't work. Okay? The key is to use Chrome. Even if you're using a Macintosh, if you're using Safari, weird things happen. Okay? They'll write the software one day so that it'll use Microsoft Edge or Safari or Firefox or whatever you want to use. But today, use Chrome and life will be way better for you. Okay?
Chrome on a MacBook.
Chrome on anything.
Chrome on anything. Okay.
Yeah. So Chrome is a browser. Okay? iOS is an operating system and Windows is an operating system. So use Chrome. I will say this. I've actually used Chrome on my phone and it works.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
Go into FMLS.
weird stuff happens when you start using Safari or Microsoft Edge or something like that. Okay, scroll down a little bit more for Stacy. Now, most of the people have been working here for less than 10 years or have been in the real estate business for less than 10 years. Some people this is probably Scott, 32 years, but the bottom line is we've got a whole bunch of people. Some people have been here just a few months and some people have been here their whole lives. Okay? Scroll down a little bit more. How long have you worked at Keller Williams? Now, one of the reasons that we wanted to know this information is because you already know, the processes that we have at KW and some of the tools that we use, and you actually know what a green sheet is because that'll be part of what we talk about. How many transactions? It's all over the board, but the vast majority of people are less than 10 transactions a year, average. Okay? But some people do 70 transactions. One of the reasons we want to know that is we'll start talking about dot loop and how do I get all my stuff out of dot loop and into Command? Or do I want to pull it out of dot loop and put it into DocuSign? That's the kind of information that can be helpful. Email client, Stacy, scroll down this a bit. The vast majority of people are using KW Mail, all right, which is Gmail with a skin on it, all right? How many people send email blast? Of the people that responded, 30% of the people actually send an email blast. And I'm not talking about sending 5 emails to people that I'm talking about sending 50 emails or 500 emails. And the way that we do it in Command is a little different, okay? So this is helpful. All right, how do you keep...
Sorry.
That's all right. How do you keep track of your contacts? So some people use a CRM and some people don't use a CRM. So at a class in the future, we're going to talk about, well, how do I get all my names out of whatever system I'm using today and get it into Command? So it's interesting to know that 30% of the people keep all their contacts in Google Contacts, okay? Some people use their iPhone, some people use a spreadsheet. A lot of people have a CRM that they're using already, okay? scroll back. And we are sharing this screen, correct, Stacy? Okay. Of the people that are currently using a CRM, what are you using? Most people are using eEdge or Top Producer. Okay? Doesn't mean that if you're using a different one, there's anything wrong with that. Okay? Go ahead down. If you need a GAR form, where do you get it? Most people are getting it from .loop today. All right, we'll talk a little bit about .loop and the GAR forms and DocuSign and GAR forms, and after that we'll talk about GAR forms some more. If you use an e-signature system, which one do you use? Most people are familiar with .loop. However, e-sign from RDocs, people use that, and there are people that are actually already using DocuSign, even though Keller Williams hasn't rolled it out. Okay? Where do you store your documents today? Almost everybody stores it in .loop. Okay? Which, as you know, that relationship's going away, and we're going to use DocuSign. DocuSign is not a whole lot different than .loop. If you've done .loop, you'll be able to do DocuSign. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Okay?
That's the end.
Okay, good. So you can kill that screen, and let's go back to the presentation. All right. So let's talk about leads and contacts. We could talk all day. If we had enough beer, we could sit here and talk all day about leads and contacts and what's the difference. And Bob defines it one way, and Eileen defines it a different way. So let's talk about that. Leads are a one-way communication.
Okay, can I interject? This is not something Pete made up. When in the process of updating Millionaire Real Estate Agent, Gary and Jay Papasan, all their research, they were finding that generally throughout the industry, this is the way the terms are defined today. Okay, so we're all trying to get in sync with version 2 of Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which is still to come out. But in case this is like, what, you know, because it's different than the way we were teaching in Ignite, which Ignite's about to be updated. So just go with us, but this is not according to Pete, it's according to Gary and Jay and their research.
So, a lead is a one-way communication. For instance, you don't know the guy from Moses. Never met him in your life, right? However, a contact is a two-way communication, which means somebody has raised their hand and said, I want to communicate with you. Maybe you sent an email out and said, I'm the greatest real estate agent in the world. Deal with me. And they said, hey, I'm looking for one. Now you've got a two-way communication going and you have a contact. That becomes important when we start talking about, well, we got all these lists of names and all these people. How do we import them into Command? And do we import them as leads or do we import them as contacts? Okay? So, for example, if you did a cold call to somebody, you're just dialing for dollars and somebody said, hey, I'm interested in learning more, now you've got a two-way communication. If you sent out an email broadcast and somebody responded to your email, you've got a two-way communication because they raised their hand, right? When we send out an email or we do something like that, we call that cold traffic. They're just cold, right? A Facebook ad. You put an ad on Facebook and somebody responded. Now you've got a contact because you've got two-way communication going back and forth. Make sense? So, if you found a business card on the ground, is that a lead or a contact?
Lead.
Okay. Somebody gave you your their whole neighborhood directory. Are those people leads or contacts?
Leads.
Okay. Someone's email address on a website you saw.
Lead.
You guys are good. Okay. Someone responds to an email because you sent a broadcast email to that neighborhood directory that somebody gave you.
Contact.
Bingo. Okay. What's your college roommate?
Contact. Possibly.
And what about your wife's best friend?
Better be a guy.
Possibly. Right? Okay, so you got the concept between leads and contacts, all right?
Question,
Question?
what about referrals?
Somebody referred you. Have you talked to them yet?
Well, I'm going to.
No, but they're a lead.
So right now, they're a lead, right?
Okay.
One-way communication. Okay. But so somebody gave you a referral, it could be junk referral, right? There's nothing there. So the reality is you might market to them differently. You know, once they raise their hand and say, I want to be marketed to, now you got a two-way communication going on. An opportunity is this is not something that KW has made up. In the corporate world, a lot of sales organizations call a deal an opportunity. Okay? You can define an opportunity any way that you want to define an opportunity. There's no right or wrong method to defining an opportunity. And you can create an opportunity at any point during the life cycle of this deal that you want to. For people like Scott that are never going to use this system to start with, the only time he's ever going to create an opportunity is once he's closed in business and he's forced to create an opportunity to get paid. But for everybody else, they say, hey, there's a deal here. I'm going to start an opportunity right now so I can track all of this stuff that's going on, all this paperwork, all these emails, you know, all of this stuff, right? Can a listing be an opportunity?
Yes.
Okay. Can a buyer search be an opportunity?
Yes.
Okay. Can a lead be an opportunity?
Yes.
Can a lead be an opportunity?
I would say no. To me personally, I would define it as no.
Why?
You said because they haven't even talked to you.
Bingo.
You've never even spoken to them. You just got a name and a phone number or an
Bingo.
email
Yeah.
somewhere.
Georgia Tech education paid off. All right. So a lead is a one-way communication. You don't know this guy from Moses. So the fact that you're going to start an opportunity, I think there's a deal here. I'm going to do a deal with this guy, and you've never even met him or talked to him, you're probably wasting your time creating an opportunity. Okay? Sam told me that he'd like to sell his house in the spring of 2022. All right?
It's 1,000 years away.
Is that an opportunity?
I would call it an opportunity for me.
You
My
have two-way
definition would be
communication?
yes.
Bingo. Okay? Again, you can create an opportunity anytime you want to. The software is not going to say, nah, the deal's too far out, you can't create an opportunity. You can create an opportunity anytime you want to, and it doesn't have to be, because the person sitting beside you may do business totally different than you do. So even though you know there's a deal in 2022, it could absolutely be an opportunity. By definition, Command, the platform that we're talking about, segments all opportunities into 3 different buckets today. Okay? Tomorrow, when they get commercial involved in this, there may be more buckets. But right now, we have a listings bucket, we have a buyers bucket, and we have a leases bucket. Okay? And when we go into the software, you'll see when we create an opportunity, it says, hey, I want to create an opportunity. It says, no problem. Is this going to be a listing opportunity, a buyer's opportunity, or a leasing opportunity? And you define it at that point. Okay? What's a CRM? Anybody want to tackle that one?
Contact relationship management.
Okay. How about a customer relationship manager? The key to this thing is relationship. All right. Some examples could be Salesforce. If you've worked for, Bob, did y'all have Salesforce at Coke?
Started to.
Okay. So if you've got a couple of bazillion dollars, you too can roll out Salesforce. Okay. And if you want to pay a boatload of people to keep it working every year, you can have Salesforce also. If you don't, you might consider something like Top Producer, eEdge, Referral Maker, Lion Desk, Wise Agent, Boomtown. There are hundreds of CRMs out there. What I've always heard is whatever CRM you're using is the best one, because at least you're using one. Okay? Command is a CRM. So Command keeps track of all your leads, all your contacts, but Command does so much more. Okay, and we're going to talk about every bit of that. A document management systems. Anybody got an idea about give me an example of what a document management system is? Perfect. That's exactly right. All right. A system which can keep track of all of our agreements, amendments, photos, emails, voicemails, all kinds of stuff. But the key is, can keep track of it. The only way it can keep track of it is if you put it in there. If you don't put it in there, you'll never be able to keep track of it. Okay? A lot of document management systems incorporate workflow. For example, in Dotloop, thank you. In Dotloop, you have the ability to send emails, right, back and forth. That's kind of a workflow, right? And then you can move it, and when Ellie has to look at it, you moved it over to Ellie. So that's a workflow system, okay? There are a boatload of document management systems out there. Dotloop, you've already said. RDocs, has anybody ever used RDocs? Okay, that's a document management system. And you'll be using DocuSign in the future. And as I said earlier, if you've used Dotloop, DocuSign's not going to be a big deal. You'll have to learn another piece of software, and it may do it a little differently, but it's not that big of a deal. So KW Command is kind of sort of a CRM and a document management system. It's both. But KW Command is a platform, all right? And because it's a platform, all kinds of third-party systems can talk to this platform that we're going to use. The platform, it's all in the cloud, right? So on some server somewhere, there's this big old software system that's ready to talk to every one of your laptops, irrespective of where you happen to be sitting. In the KW Command platform, we have modules, and one of the modules is leads and contacts. If you don't want to do anything in KW Command except keep up with your leads and contacts, you can do that. Okay? If you'd like to use the marketing modules that are part of KW Command, then guess what you can do? With those 523 people that you've got in your database, you can send them all an email every week if you wanted to, every day if you wanted to, automatically. So it's a marketing module. The same marketing module will allow you to send a text message to all these people. The same marketing module will allow you to send a mailer to a mail house that will mail it for you. So the marketing module that's part of KW Command gives you the ability to reach out and touch your contacts and prospects in a whole host of ways, and you don't have to just use one way. If you wanted to communicate with your prospect, with your leads and your contacts, you could say, hey, tomorrow morning, I want you to text them, I want you to email them, I want you to send them a mailer, okay? There's all kinds of different ways that you can touch and market using the marketing module that's part of Command. Command also supports different document management systems. So just because we're talking about DocuSign doesn't mean that's the only one you can use. If you've used RDocs all your life and you say, I'm only going to use RDocs the rest of my life, there's a way within Command that you can take your documents out of RDocs and get them into Command. Okay? It just so happens that
Excuse me.
some of them integrate
Does that
differently.
mean we have to do that? If we want our documents that are in our docs now, we have to move them over.
You don't have to, but at some point, when we go to what's called compliance, with that Lynn LaCroix and company,
Right.
all right, they want to see some of the, I can't answer the commercial side, so I'm just going to answer it on the
Does
residential
Lynn
side.
review your contracts? No.
Charlie
does.
If
Charlie
I get in
does.
trouble. She does. But no, Charlie does normally.
There will be a point, see, we don't, how do you do commissions or?
Dotloop and green sheets.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
same way. I just,
Well, so here's what's going to happen. You can, Dotloop is not going away. Now I'm off in the weeds, all right? Dotloop's not going away. You using Dotloop for free is going away, okay? If you weren't even in the real estate business, if you were a chemical salesman, you can call up Dotloop and get an account with Dotloop. Anybody can get an account with Dotloop. As a matter of fact, most people can get an account with Dotloop for free. But what they do is they throttle on how many what you can do with it, right? And if you want to do all the cool stuff, you have to pay them money. Well, that's going to happen with Dotloop after September, after our relationship goes away, you can still use .loop if you want to. It's just going to cost you money, and all the information you put in there, Zillow's going to have access to.
So the question, I guess Lita's asking, and I'm thinking too, is what happens to all this stuff we've been doing and that's sitting in .loop? Is this gonna automatically be moved over to command for us, or are we gonna have to do it? Is that what you're asking?
Well,
Yes, that's what I'm.
Okay,
asking.
so to
RDocs and docs.
Keller Williams is in the process of,
Grabbing all that information.
yes,
Yeah.
they are like terabytes and it's in
So we
process.
aren't gonna have to
making-
do that.
You don't have to, but if it keeps you up at night, you can, and Pete has a simple way of doing it. So
Okay.
that's your choice. Keller Williams is doing it. It's just your trust level. Okay? I mean, he's got a video that do this. But yes, it's all being put in the Keller Cloud so that we have access forever.
Everybody know what a thumb drive is? Go ahead with your question.
So our relationship with RDocs is through FMLS. So
Right, which goes
is
on
that
forever.
changing in any way?
Nope.
So
Nope.
those documents will stay in place?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yep. Okay. Everybody knows what a thumb drive is? Anybody know how much they cost?
Couple of bucks.
Not much.
About $2, right? All right. In my opinion, every deal that you do, whether it's RDocs, whether it's .loop, whether it's DocuSign, in my opinion, and this is Pete's opinion, you get what you pay for, I would make a copy of all my documents that are in whatever document management system you're using, and simply copy them to a $2 thumb drive and put them in the file folder with all the paperwork that you've got anyway. Because what happens if somebody else buys RDocs or they go bankrupt or whatever, and now you got a situation like Scott's going, man, I got a bazillion documents from 30 years ago. I don't want to have to figure out how to get all that stuff out. So if you simply copy those things out to the thumb drive and put it in a file folder, you got it. Right? That's what I would do. Or Google Drive, and it automatically synchronizes. There's a lot of ways to do it. It's beyond the scope of this conversation. But what I'm trying to tell you here is KW Command as a platform, as a module for document management, and what they're basically telling you is whatever document management system you have, you can get your stuff out of it and get it into Command. Okay?
So, question for you. So, does Keller Williams save all the contracts that we do? If I put all these documents in .loop today, so you said they're downloaded. Does Keller Williams store all the contracts?
Before Command, no, they stayed in .loop. But we had a contract, we have a contract with them, written in blood to save everything.
So the only people
It's-
who has access to those today are the agents that put them into .loop.
Keller
Well-
Williams will keep all of your contracts for 7 years.
Right.
Because as the broker, they legally
Right, that's
have
a
to do that.
requirement. And of course, us on staff that have access to everybody's lease. Right.
Again, in a workflow situation, if you got a workflow situation, you want to share, if you want to do something with Ellie and Lauren, then obviously they have access to it. So there are people that have access
Within our
to
office.
those documents. That's correct.
Yeah, I was just trying to find out what the value is to keep all the all the documents.
Well, the value is, as you'll see in Command a little bit later, is you can say, you know what, if somebody calls me up on the phone and says they want to buy a house, I've figured out that over the years, if somebody calls me up, I have a 37% probability that I'm going to close that deal. And you can do that on every part of the opportunity. And what Keller Williams will do when you have enough deals in there is they will also present and says, hey, if you're interested and you want to see it, click this button and you can see what all the rest of the agents across the country or the southeastern region, if they get to this phase, they're closing 28% of all the deals. And it's not going to tell you that Katie's doing better than you are, but it's going to say as a whole.
Okay,
Right?
weeds, stop.
All right,
Sorry.
there's another.
She was going to mention when it expires, and You got sidetracked.
So I'm gonna roll with the news. So the exclusive contract expires September 15th. However, Gene Rawls has decided all Rawls Group offices are going to continue our office contract with .loop as long as it takes for DocuSign to be completely operational.
Yay.
Currently now, DocuSign, you have an account, but the GAR forms haven't been loaded. So we don't have access to GAR forms in DocuSign because they're having a licensing, pay me money argument and working that out. So Gene, .loop continues until the other system is completely 100% ready to rock and roll and we have time to train. So we're gonna just keep on keeping on with .loop. There, yes, .loop. So don't learn anything new. I mean, it's only for a few months. You know, we will be changing, but there's for right now.
Safety net.
Right, for right now. Everybody happy?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right, so KW Command is a platform. It's made up of different modules, and you, as the user, can use any of the modules you want to or none of the modules, right? So it's not just one big old piece of software. Some of these integrations have direct integration directly from, say, DocuSign directly into Command, all right? And some of them are indirect. Some of them are one-way communication, and some of them are two-way or bi-directional, okay? So, one of the things that you have the ability to do, if you're using a document management system or an e-signature system, okay, DocuSign has a direct integration directly into the document management module of KW Command, okay? Now, any system that you use has the ability to go file, upload into Command. For example, if you had a plat map, right, and the piece of property you're trying to sell was, was deeded in 1904, and nothing's ever been digitized, but you have a piece of paper, you go back here to one of these copy machines in the back, you scan it in, it emails it to you automatically. You simply download, you go file, save as, and then you upload it into Command. And now, remember I told you, you can start the opportunity anytime you want to. You say, man, I think there's going to be a deal here. It may be 18 months, but I think there's a deal. So you create an opportunity, and now you got some of these scanned documents or stuff you want to keep up with. This is a perfect way to do it. You simply scan it into the document management system of KW Command, whether you're using RDocs, whether you're using DocuSign, whether you're using .loop, or whether you're using something we've never heard of before. Okay? .loop has the ability to talk to Command. All right? It wouldn't surprise me in the future if .loop didn't have an integration also, but they don't today. You just go file, upload, and you're good to go. RDocs. RDocs has the ability, again, to talk to the document management system by downloading it out of RDocs and uploading it into Command. Email marketing systems. There's a difference between onesie-twosie email and broadcast email. Everybody agree to that? In Command, we have a direct integration to a service called MailJet and another service called MailChimp. Okay? This becomes kind of important. So both of these have a direct integration to the marketing module. Okay? That's kind of important because when we go to Gmail, Gmail's integration is into the leads and contacts. Right? So your question?
Just question, is MailJet and MailChimp going to be included in, is there additional fee for that or that's going to be included?
Well, I can talk to MailChimp because I've used MailChimp. MailChimp, so long as your list is less than 2,000 names, is free. If it's more than 2,000 names, then it's progressive. Okay?
Yeah, there are not many people like you, Jeannie, that have.
Yeah, I'm going to have over 10,
10,000?
yeah.
Okay, so whatever, then they're going to charge you whatever it charges you. However, what you will find, you wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't working, right?
Right.
And here's something that's kind of important. Let's say that, oh, I'm not going to pay anybody to do my broadcast email because I can just do it out of Gmail. Be careful, folks, because if you had 500 people in your Gmail account and you said, send them all an email, you are going to get spanked. Because if one person or a handful of people say spam or junk, then it goes to this big database in the sky, and all these mail people, whether it's the MailJet people, the MailChimp people, the Constant Contact people, all of these people will flag your account as a spammer, and almost all of the email that you ever send out is either going to show up in a promotions folder or a spam folder, which is not what you want to happen, right? The reason that you use MailChimp, the reason that you use Constant Contact, the reason that you use MailJet is because a lot of times they'll scrub that for you and say, be careful, because if you get yourself labeled as a spammer, it is not trivial to get yourself off that blacklist. Okay?
And is it
So how do you
strictly based
avoid
on number, volume?
Generally, yes. For instance, if you were to send 20 emails out of Gmail every day, you're probably not going to have a problem. But if you're trying to do 10,000 at a time, you're going to have a problem. Okay?
So would the solution be to spread it out over the course of a week?
There's a couple of ways to do it. All right. Remember that neighborhood directory we were talking about a while ago? All right. I got a directory from a trade show one time when I was in a previous life, and we got every attendee of the trade show, 73,000 people. Okay. What a great marketing database that was, because I knew everything that knows about them. But most lists go dirty. 20 to 30% of your list will go dirty every year. Somebody changes emails, they go to work for a different company or whatever. So if you never clean your database and you were to send one email to 10,000 people and 25% of those names are dirty, you're going to get slapped. So what I did in that case is I said, oh boy, this is going to take a while, but I wasn't going to pay a cleaning service to do that for me. So I sent 100 a day for like up 2 months. And every one of them that bounced or came back, we cleaned the list up, and then after that, we could do them.
Yeah, we just took off 400 names.
That's all out of 10,000? That's pretty good.
Well, no, that was out of a list of 5,000.
Okay, yeah.
Took out 400 names.
Yeah,
Just did that
and you have to
yesterday.
continuously clean your list. And once you do it, the ones that bounce, you can flag that kind of stuff and keep your list clean. But just because you got these lists, don't just willy-nilly send them out there. You get in trouble. Questions? Okay.
And then your efforts are for naught.
Correct. Now, yeah, you're
You're going to
screwed.
everybody's
You're
spam.
screwed. You might as well just cold call the rest of your life. But now, and I'll tell you this whole cold calling thing, California in the last month has gotten really serious about this stuff. And I think it's going to spread across the country. These dialers and things like that.
So annoying.
It's going to get, in a previous life in the technology business, I did a lot on the fax business, and I worked with large corporations that did hundreds of thousands of pages of faxes per day, okay? There's a law, it's like $1,500 per fax that you can be fined. So if you send out 10,000 faxes, holy mackerel, all right? All right. Other CRMs that will talk to the command platform. Google Contacts is not really a CRM, but we could fake it till we make it, right? Top Producer, some people use Top Producer. Referral Maker, eEdge, a lot of people use eEdge. Remember that survey we took? A lot of people use eEdge, and what I've done in this slide is if it's in yellow, then it has a direct integration into command, okay? So, for the people that do not have a direct integration, there's a little piece of software out here called PieSync. It's sort of like the Rosetta Stone. So PieSync is a company that has gone out and they say, hey, we understand how command works, and it's first name, last name, as opposed to full name. right? So PieSync knows how command works, but PieSync also has gone out to over 100 other companies and says, oh, we know how Top Producer works, and they do full name, so the syntaxes are different. And so what PieSync does is PieSync sort of is a knowledge broker, and PieSync has a connection into the Leads and Contacts module, and it also has links into these other applications. There's over 100 of them, okay? So there's a whole lot of ways to get the data wherever you keep it today into Command. Does that make sense? Okay? Let's talk about a life cycle. All right? A life cycle. I used this analogy yesterday. This is pretty simple. Right here, you're born. Right here, you die. Any questions?
What happens in the middle?
All right. So, between the day we are born and the day we die, we go through different phases of our life. Everything from adolescence to menopause, right? Different phases. And so what an opportunity is exactly the same thing. If you think about every deal that you've ever worked, it started out as maybe a suspect, and he became a prospect, a lead, a contact. Then it's a real deal, right? So the same thing happens with opportunities. In opportunities, we have different phases depending on where you are in the deal. Does that make sense? It's going to come back a little bit more in a second. All right? A life cycle also changes over time. The deal changes over time, right? There are various stages. Remember, this was the very first stage? Well, different things happen during that time, right? You're born, you go to preschool, you go to first grade, then you go to middle school, then you go to high school, college, you get married, all that kind of stuff. So there are various stages in a life cycle. And during each stage, different things happen in your life. All right? So again, our life cycle, you're born, you die, and stuff changes. There's another way of saying that, right? Things happen. The life cycle of an opportunity is kind of the same way. All right? There are few rules that Command as a platform defines. And these are the rules that we cannot change. There's a lot of stuff we can change in Command, but there are a handful of things we can't change in Command. All right? Cultivate, remember in our life cycle, cultivate's over there on the far left side. Then we have the appointment, we have the deal becomes active, the opportunity deal, I'm using those, the same. Under contract, and finally we close the deal. So those are defined in Command and cannot be changed. So whether you want to call them something differently or not, you can't in Command. But after this, we can change anything we want to. For instance, the cultivating stage happens over here. And there's a whole checklist. So you might have a checklist. I'm cultivating this contact, and so I want to do these 10 things. But when I get to the appointment side of the business, I want to do 11 things. When I get to the active, Lord only knows, I may send an email every day for 3 weeks. I may call, I may text, and all of a sudden you got 20 things that you want to do in your checklist. The nice thing about this is it gives you a checklist that you can use for every single deal, and as you check them off, you simply drag that contact. Basically, it's like having a Post-it note. It's stuck right here, and when you do the 5 things right here, you simply stick it right here. And what happens is that deal, over time, finally the deal closes. You take the Post-it note, you peel it off, and you're done.
Another way of looking at this is, when we can go back to Ignite, we sort of teach you, we try to teach best practice of, you meet somebody at an open house, and they indicate that they want to buy a house, okay? So in the cultivate phase, what do we teach in Ignite? We want you to set appointments, set those listing appointments, set those buyer consult appointments. So this is all the schmoozing and courting. You're courting that prospect, but they do want to, they've identified they want to buy or sell. And then, so this represents the listing, appointment, and the buyer brokerage agreement. You do not, this is optional, but a cool thing you can do with opportunities is you can start to say, okay, I want to start being consistent with my business. I want to, for my business, I want to have sort of a standard operating procedure. And as soon as I meet somebody, I'm going to add them to command. Then I'm going to send them a text. Then the next day I'm going to do this. So it's your procedures of what you do, and you can add those in command to help keep you on track. And guess what else you can do? When your business gets to the point where you want to hire an assistant, or you want to build a team, you're putting your standard operating procedures of from the time you meet somebody and time you close and beyond, your post-closing. So that's when he's talking about checklists. They're checklists for yourself as an individual agent or teams or assistants or whatnot. Yes, Marty?
So all those things, are they already made up, or do you customize them, or a little of both?
Oh, he's a great straight man, isn't he?
Yep. They have suggested stages within each of these phases. Everything is editable. Everything except for the 5 phases, editable. They only have sort of some suggested checklists in the cultivate stage. So we're talking about maybe coming up with a QAP starter standard operating procedure checklist for every stage, which then you can modify to suit the way you do that. Yeah, it's definitely both.
And your own, okay.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And you can
Absolutely.
change it. Remember I said there's certain things we can't change.
Right.
When they call it cultivate, we can't change that. But every other piece of that during the cultivation, you can have as many steps in there as you like.
Right.
We're going to talk.
I would like to give y'all a starter set of checklists so you don't have to type everything in. And so it's not available yet, but we're working on that.
So we're going to talk about the life cycle of a listing opportunity. Remember, there are 3 types of opportunities, right? What are they?
Listing,
Listing,
selling.
buy, or lease.
Bingo. Okay. We're just going to talk about right now a listing opportunity, because once you follow this, whether it's a buying opportunity or anything else, it works the same way. So the life cycle over here is what I'm showing vertically, which again is this whole curve that we did earlier. All right. Now we got cultivate. During that part of the life cycle, we can't change that. Keller Williams says, hey, you're going to call it cultivate, so get over it.
We can't change the terminology.
That's correct. All right.
Label.
So the life cycle, we're going to start at cultivate. We're going to go through appointment, active, under contract, and finally we're going to close this opportunity, or we're going to close this deal. Now, what happens in between there are called stages. Okay? So during the cultivate stage, different things happen. And this is what you can define for yourself, depending on the way you do business. All right? For instance, somebody raised their hand and they said, hey, I want to do something. And so what you're going is, you know what? There's a deal here. Remember, you can create an opportunity at any point. It's not 14 days after you meet somebody, you create an opportunity. Anytime you want to create an opportunity. And I have determined that we all as salespeople know you got a pretty good feeling there's a deal here. So create an opportunity. They raise their hand, and when they raise their hand, then I am going to confirm the best phone number, the best email address, and I'm going to add their spouse to my database. And those are the 3 things that I'm going to do before I take my Post-it note and drag it over here to the next stage. I'm going to define my next stage as nurturing the deal. All right? When I nurture the deal, I'm going to put the seller on a drip campaign on the FMLS. I'm going to create a smart plan in Command that you don't know anything about yet, but we will. I'm going to add my scope to an email marketing campaign like Jeannie's doing to 10,000 people. Right? And I'm going to do all of these things before I drag the Post-it note over to the next stage. And the next stage is this deal is getting hot, okay? The seller's expressed an interest. I'm going to contact the seller to set up an appointment. Now, these things, when we get into command, are totally configurable by you. I happen to have 3 stages in my cultivate phase. You may have 4 stages. You may have 5 stages. Each one of your checklists, you may have 15 things on this checklist. And that's kind of cool, because you do business differently than I do. Okay? But every time I finish doing each one of these little things, I'm going to take that Post-it note and I'm going to drag it over here, and then I'm going to drag it over here. And as you see in command, graphically, you can look at it and you can see where all your business is. And all of a sudden, you're going to say, man, I got a whole bunch of stuff that's closing, but I got nothing in the cultivate side of my business, right? So now you got to get with Jeannie and use some of her emails.
I'm just thinking about that, all these referrals, and I'm gonna be selling that list.
You would be surprised at how many companies, how much money they make selling their list. Now, they don't sell their list, they rent their list, and they don't give you the list. They have an escrow broker that if I wanted to use your list, then I would pay you the money, and I would say, here's my copy, and I would give it to Stacy, the broker, and she would send it on my behalf to your list. I would never know who's on the list.
I don't like that.
People make $1 bazillion doing that. All right, let's keep going. Question?
Regarding that, the leads and contacts that you put into the system, do they belong to Keller Williams or do they belong to us?
They're yours.
Okay.
They're yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, agree. Now remember, 30% of everything you put in there is going to be old and out of date this time next year. So even if you were to give me your list, unless I clean it and cultivate it and do something with it, 3, 4, 5 years from now, that list is useless. Even people that have AOL email addresses change to Gmail at some point. Okay. All right. So
Seriously, I've got a few of them.
that's why you're in the back. But as you get
Not
smarter,
for me,
you'll move
I'm talking
forward.
about clients.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, as I said, they will get smarter or they'll die. But sooner or later, that email address is going to change. All right. We've got our life cycle over here, right, that we can't change, but we can change the stages in every single one of these. So I'm going to kind of go through here. In this particular appointment phase, as you can see, and we don't have to discuss every one of these things, because your business is probably going to be different. And you can set it up any way you want to. When it goes active, we're going to prepare a listing. Now, you see these numbers right here, the 25%, the 45%? It's totally up to you. All right? What I'm saying is, if I get to the stage where I'm preparing a listing, I feel like I got a 45% probability that I'm going to close this business. You may feel differently. You may say, man, if I get to the listing stage, I got a 75% probability I'm going to close the business. And that's fine. All this is a way that graphically it's going to show you where you are in your business and what your potential pipeline is versus where you are in that pipeline. Make sense? All right. So I'm just going to go through all of these things. Social media, Facebook page, direct mail, Instagram, YouTube. You may have all kinds of other stuff, right? You're going to, part of the, once it goes active, you're going to do all kinds of other stuff that I never thought of. And you can do that on your own when you build it. When we go under contract, all kinds of things happen. And then when we go to closing, all kinds of things happen. Does that make sense? Even though we close, let's say that you're working with a buyer and you bought them a house and you close. Well, guess what? That's going to be a new pipeline, because what's going to happen 3, 4, 5, 7 years from now?
They're going to get tired of that money pit and want to buy another, aren't they?
That's exactly right. They're going to say, hey, that was a great house. I want to buy another house. You know what? You now create another opportunity, because the opportunity now is to sell the house. Question?
Got to step out for about 10.
Okay.
Same.
This
setup
is up here, or the video, or the...
This is up here.
Okay, good. All right.
You said you could look at this graphically. How?
I'll show you. On the interface, it kind of shows you all that. There's all kinds of stuff in there. We probably won't get into that deep into it in today's class, but it's in there. It's like Prego spaghetti sauce. It's in there. Okay. Let me also say that just what we're doing here today with Command, there is no way that I can teach you Command in one day. That's like, I don't know what it's like trying to teach you. All right, everybody's heard of Microsoft Office. It's made up of what?
Excel, PowerPoint.
Word.
Word, all right? Could you go to a class and learn PowerPoint, Excel, and Word in one day? No. Okay? As a matter of fact, if you went to a Microsoft Office class, the Office class would simply say, hey, guess what? If you have Excel and Word and PowerPoint, you can make all of those link into one document. Thanks for attending the Office class. The Excel class is tomorrow. Right? Command is not unlike that. There are 10 or 12 modules that are Command, and we could spend an entire day on every single module. Okay? All right. So, the life cycle of a buyer's opportunity. Guess what? We still have the cultivate, we still have appointment, we still have active, under contract, and close. Doesn't matter if you're buying something or selling something, we still have these as part of our life cycle. Now, you've seen this before. Stages can change because now we're talking about a buyer's opportunity, and you may have totally different stages in a buyer's opportunity. Okay? They raise their hand, hey, there's a deal. I think there's a deal here. I'm going to create an opportunity. Right? You're going to nurture the deal. The deal's getting hot. Now, guess what? You got to fill in your own boxes because I'm not doing it for you. And I don't know what to put there. But if you were to take your camera and take a picture of this, then you'd have it, right? Unless I was to give it to you already. And this is not the do-all, end-all of how you do it. This is simply, oh gosh, Bob, we ran out. Darn it. But if you hit me up, maybe I'll give you something later. All right. Now, of course, if you had a blank one that you could write all this stuff down with, I would suggest very strongly that before you start making all this stuff happen in Command, you write it down on a piece of paper, because you're going to think through it, you're going to scratch through it, and you're going to change it 9 ways until Sunday. And the nice thing about it is just because you come up with your stages today and you decide a week from now or a month from now that, you know, I really don't like that stage, I'm going to do it a little differently. There's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. Just realize that all of your historical deals, all of that data, there was no such thing as stage 7 before you created stage 7, so you won't be able to track that in the old stuff. Make sense? Any questions about this so far? All right, we're going to take a look at Command after we take a bathroom break. So it is exactly 11 o'clock right now. What about 11:10? Can we make that happen? And we'll fire up Command and actually start using it. Good deal.
Okay.
I worked out this one. It's central now.
This week, so, I mean, it's stuff that you can't even.
Okay.
Good.
I'm not pressing it. Throat. Climbing.
But you know, I tell you what, I adjusted for, me, like yesterday, the workout was take a plate. And it was walk around 400 meters.
Yeah.
And you had to hold a plate over your head and lunge.
Oh, my.
400 meters.
400 meters, my gosh.
I'm like, I can't do that. So,
That's a quarter of a mile.
so what I did,
Good.
and today's workout started with a mile and a half run. And I'm working
She's
back
good.
and
She's
so I
really good.
rode
Good.
1600
Yeah, she's
meters.
great.
Ran
Did I tell you my daughter got a Aussie Doodle, Australian Shepherd Poodle?
That's what you that's what mine is.
Yeah, I remember we talked about it, you gave me the name of your breeder, and I was gonna give it to my daughter,
for
but
a
then
mile.
I felt like I was
And
gonna
then I
be
did it inside.
too
Nobody
involved.
else was out
I
there.
didn't wanna encourage her to even get a dog.
Right.
So I didn't
Let her
give,
do it.
so she just did it on her own, they went to Nashville to get a dog.
Oh,
I
wow.
did that.
Do you have a picture of
And
it?
so for me, you know, that's, I just scaled it
It's
to
cute.
what I can do.
Mhm.
But
You
of
scale
course,
your
any
weight
puppy's
to what
cute,
you can do.
just wait till, see how she trains them, because,
It's called
they're
hard
big.
exercise.
and they, like, what
Oh,
kind of
that's the
trainer
name
is she
of
gonna
Yeah.
be? You know, that's the big
Yeah, I
question,
go to
right?
fitness together.
Yeah, hard
They're a lot of work, I
exercise
tell you.
All day.
Put a lot of work.
She has a
into
very
it.
flexible
Oh,
schedule.
yeah.
Shopping center.
Oh, going home.
Brooklyn Bridge.
Just,
As you go.
well, I even had her in obedience
Towards
classes.
Roswell.
And
Working from home
but
more?
she's high energy, so you just gotta walk her a lot.
You know that,
So it's
Like,
convenient
a
for you
lot.
because
I mean,
someone's
it is
like,
a
so-
lot. And then the
Yeah,
house
I go
breaking.
cut through.
I mean,
Yeah.
she's housebroken now, she's 5 months old. She's
That's a nice.
Especially, I'm gonna have the gate in the morning. You know, you're in, you're out, I'm home by 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Sometimes before 7.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so much work.
And having a granddaughter, thinking careful.
Oh my gosh, she's Bowie. She looks like my dog.
I know.
She looks just like Bowie.
Oh, the dog is adorable.
They're so cute,
I
yeah.
mean, but like I said, what puppy isn't adorable?
They're all a ton of work.
It's
though.
only when they get
A
big
ton-
that they're so adorable.
Yeah. it's-
I have 2 dogs. I love dogs. I mean, I love dogs. I love my dogs. But yeah, it's a lot of work. This is my dog at the lake. He's just in the past month. This is one of my dogs. He's discovered the fish.
Oh my gosh.
So he's trying to fish
You're
and catch the
Oh,
fish.
what kind of dog is
So
it?
It's a
far,
Labradoodle, but it's a standard poodle. It's a big
what I was
one.
really waiting for is what we're getting ready to do, is how to navigate inside.
And she
Kind of tinkered with it a little
you know,
bit.
she's working
You have?
long hours.
Well, just
Yeah.
looked at it
Gone
and
8
kind of
to 12 hours.
tried to see
a
what the
day.
tabs to
Dog
the
was
left
living in the
do.
garage.
That's all.
It was lonely. It was tearing up in the garage.
Right.
You know, my thing is I'm
And
just
this
like,
dog made it up.
in the middle of
You know,
stuff, and you know how long our deals take.
Because she thought, well, what if that dog?
Yeah.
This
And
dog?
it took a little bit
I got
to
stuff in
understand
Dotloop
that
that may not
tagging
close
it in,
for
and then I'd
6
the
months.
best
then
dog
I would move to the next thing, and I'd go back and the fuel was gone,
So
right?
much fun.
You know, I'm like, okay, and then I realized I had to, I
So he's a
forget.
Labrador.
Save it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
He's
it's a big one.
That's
Yeah,
optional.
it's standard
So-
standard.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well, can you imagine if you had imported 5,000 and figured that out?
Yeah, yeah, like,
just
yeah, how do I delete 5,000?
Exactly, and,
You know,
but,
they're probably-
like, I've got 3 or 4 deals that have been in diligence for over a year,
A bazillion?
and I've got one
Not
that's
charge, like,
probably gonna be another year.
MailChimp is 2,000.
What happens
Maybe
to
I
all
did
that
that
stuff?
but-
She's like,
That's
Yeah,
my,
Constant Contact has a little different
A year from now.
methodology than MailChimp.
they're gonna say, oh, everybody's gotten everything they need.
Well,
not
pricing
ready to
structure.
my dog.
Pricing
Because right now, I
I
have
hear
5
that that happens.
5,000.
Yeah, when you have an older-
I downloaded to my
Yeah.
laptop and my
Yeah.
server. I have a server of my
So
own.
look
I'm
at
like,
MailChimp and see
Yeah.
what's
I got my own
Yeah.
server, but it's not as bad.
Right, exactly.
Because I'm a summer.
And
Just
so
put
I
it in command
download
line
everything to
and
my
just-
laptop and then I put it on my server
I've been
too.
waiting, I
Right.
realized
But,
that paying additional.
And without even.
Well,
Some of the
all right, so the
stuff-
same thing happens with texting.
I'd like to think I do all.
Twilio. So
Like
if
I'm
you
doing a
wanted
deal with
to
Eileen
send
right now,
text
I'd
to
be giving her a hard
5,000
time,
people,
she's sitting right there.
it's going to cost you money also.
So you
It's residential,
now.
true residential, the way it's being treated
Just gonna make
is
the
residential deal, even though it's also a commercial property. I just closed on one just like
I
that.
think I'm just gonna put them in.
But they're not
Yeah.
bouncing.
Opposite of the way it's being
Yeah.
handled.
Yeah,
The
so when
ones
they
that are
bounce,
bounced
they're clean.
We're bounced
Residential
clean.
person.
I gave them assignment the other night, you need to take
It's like
out.
drinking
And
out of a
really,
fire
I'm
There-
gonna
I
take
tell
out,
you,
if I can
if
get
I
it under
had-
5,000.
I have a
because-
document
No,
for a
I
document
had-
to
So
sign a
I'm like, you know
document
what,
because
if
there's a
they're not, if
document.
they haven't answered in 2 years, I'm taking them out.
Well,
Yeah.
So it's,
yeah,
you
okay, I
know,
was going to say.
I don't know that I
trick
could
is-
know where my
possibly
head
save
went
everything.
Because I'm sure
I've got
Constant
my
Contact
list
and
of
MailChimp are
documents.
both smart enough to know that if you're paying for
But
the same
now
account
she's
on
at
a credit
easier
card,
Now, the one I
stage.
closed
She's
yesterday,
got-
the
she
same
doesn't
deal.
bite me like
you
she's
get
Marshall
high
email
trained,
or
potty
you
have
trained.
Google
Yeah.
Drive, you get
She's
15
calmed
gig.
down
Or
some.
you fill it up, what do you do?
You know,
Or you
and
email
please
address.
walk
Because
her
then you
a
can
lot.
lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this was in dot loops. I mean, there was just 4
There's
documents.
Now, I don't
It's
know
not
if
that
that
hard.
worked or
I don't
You got
know.
your-
But I'll start, I don't
You
have
got
an
your
announcement.
contract.
But I will tell you this.
Yeah.
And that's really, I
If
mean,
you
the
see
main
that
document in there. I mean, we don't use all
Blacklisted,
these
$90 a
special
month.
forms
It's nothing- no, no,
for
I-
special
it's-
situations.
Right.
We might do an amendment to the contract
Don't
that's
have
strongly
It's
modified. Maybe for an
Well,
extension.
so you can put as many names as you want to in command and only filter out how many you want to send in your email blast.
But it's really fun, and this is just happening.
So
So
just
I could put everything in command,
Absolutely.
and then
Absolutely.
break up the list of how I want, which ones I want to
That's
send.
correct.
So that may be the way.
If it's being done in a commercial aspect of the purchaser, yes, it needs a
I
commercial
do
license.
part of trade shows, so at the end.
If they're using it for
Yeah, they
commercial,
just gave me a
their
number.
banker
Yeah, like
thinks
people
they
who
can
post
do
on
it
Facebook for like open houses and whatnot.
Right.
People,
Probably
they
They're
DM
leads.
your comments.
I know that, but I just sent one out
You
and
can't get near.
400 people
All right,
answered.
commercial one's better, but the
So
residential
now-
ones usually have a lower
What
income.
happened is the old way we put it,
Better
not, I
terms.
don't
You
have
get 30 years.
some of those 400 may not have a
You get a
phone.
30-year
Some
commercial.
of them might be, so I have to go through each
Right.
one and figure out. My
That's where it's
new,
on
the
for
two
you.
new big contact lists I have, give me phone numbers and
Yeah.
addresses, which is
Yeah.
great for command because I can set them up and their locations.
It's scary, I know. Yeah.
It might to the loan officer.
Right.
I mean, for the general transaction, no, they were paying cash.
It just says right here.
But, you know, it depends on who the agent is on the other side. Like, if you have Eileen on the other side, and it's a residential property, you're gonna get 50,000 documents. Now, if you're working with a commercial, though, you get like 3.
Okay.
I am never gonna let up on you on this.
You know what?
Never.
See, I really don't even care.
I know. I know.
Your mom's doing okay?
Sorry.
That's why I can give you a hard time.
But yeah, I'm gonna go over there tomorrow and.
And I only said that because you walked in the room.
I know how you operate.
I know. Here was really pick up stuff for this.
But it does, I mean, that is the difference right there. It's, you know, who's on the other side. If on that property, it's a commercial agent on the other side, you're probably gonna have 3 or 4
So,
documents
I've got,
at most. It'll all be incorporated into the contract initially.
Mostly
And
area.
then any changes will be an amendment.
Second home market has really come back.
The turnout was.
No, upstate New York.
hopefully good. So,
They'll rent.
do you call it?
Yes, you do.
Right? So that's
Open house.
I get it. No, I think
He
it
does,
kinda
he,
does.
well, I contacted the realtors, of the two people that you mentioned, one actually went back to go see the house, but then they took it off their list because of, the stairs.
To Laura or?
The,
They have young kids.
the agent was Heather Cumming, I don't know.
Right.
I remember from
Have to go.
Right.
Sleep well.
And then I never heard back from the other one.
You better not fall on my watch.
Right.
Yeah, usually he normally would call the agent, we have agents to call the agent.
Yeah.
I saw how many real big breeds.
So,
I just closed one.
Yeah.
Because I don't want
As long as the other one she has closes, then this is not gonna happen.
All right, we got 2 minutes. Says everybody can get onto the network with their laptop, right? All right, Rashad's going to teach the rest of this class, so it's been fun. Rashad, you ready to do it?
He's not
He
listening.
wasn't listening, was
It's
he?
money, man.
Not at all.
Can I have a couple $100 bills?
Or he knows you and he's just like, yeah.
No, he had his boombox ears.
Just,
Oh.
just the Google Chrome.
At what time?
So a lot of this, it's like you need to do all this stuff. So I'm not a lot of just makes you want to fall asleep. I'm like, yeah, okay.
All right, we're ready to rock and roll. So everybody's giving me their email address, right? So we know who's been trained. All right, excellent.
Who's been
Trained.
exposed,
hold on.
exposed to the
Okay, now you know
information?
everything. The osmosis, we just.
Train.
Is that first one?
Yes,
All right, y'all ready to roll?
the first one.
I started taking notes and I'm like, you know what, I can't take that, I need to just listen.
That's fine, and you got, you got all this stuff. All right, so everybody go ahead and get your laptop, log into the network, and get Chrome loaded up. You ready to roll? All right, the website that you want to go to, does everybody, here's another little tech tidbit. Does everybody know how to create a shortcut on their web browser? So they just click on the little icon and they don't have to type this stuff in every time?
No.
Let me help you. All right, so if I can find my mouse. All right, hopefully everybody's seen this kind of screen before, right?
Yeah.
All right, we want to go to agents, A-G-E-N-T, if I can spell it, agent.kw.com. All right, and hit enter. Hopefully your screen looks like my screen.
Or it takes right.
If it doesn't, raise your hand.
Wait.
What is that?
You know what?
KW dot.
Agent, singular, agent.kw.com. I'm going to make my screen a little bigger, so here's another little tech tip for you. If you hold down the control key on your keyboard and you roll your mouse forward, it makes everything bigger. All right, so when you get to be my age, you use this all the time. All right, all I'm doing is rolling it up and rolling it down. It makes it bigger and smaller. Because sometimes you'll get into some of these screens on command and you go, where'd the submit key go? Or where'd the accept key go? Where'd the OK key go? And you can't get to it. So just hold the control key down and roll your mouse down and it makes the screen smaller and you can find the button you were looking for.
Oh, that's a good trick.
Okay? Now, that wasn't the trick that we were talking about. All right, but everybody's got this screen right here, and this is a website that we want to go to. We're going to go to this on a daily basis. So if you'll notice, can you see my mouse up here in the top left corner? Do you see it says agent.kw.com login, and you see this little lock over here? I'm just going to hover over that lock. I'm going to hold my left mouse key down without letting it up, and I'm going to drag it down here beside, how about weather? So I'm going to grab it, drag it, and drop it, and voila.
Okay, well, wait a
Oh,
minute.
do that again.
All right, we'll do that again.
But I don't have any of that on my thing. My screen doesn't have any presentation.
Are you left-handed or right-handed?
On that
No,
bar.
I don't have any.
We can add the bookmark
toolbar.
She doesn't have a toolbar on there.
I don't have a bar.
All right, who's a Mac person that can answer that question
Oh,
for
I
me?
can't answer the question. I don't have one.
Okay.
There's an
I don't have a
If
bar.
you're at Chrome, you should be able to
One
just
of mine says
Go over here.
console
add that to
and
your
to the three
toolbar.
dots.
I'm a different
I
game.
don't know
go
what it
to,
said because I was trying to get to this screen, so I went to
Settings,
Uh-huh.
and then we want to
On that river.
appearance, I think, and then show bookmarks bar.
There you go.
Bingo. And that should have done it for you. That work?
How'd you do that?
Yes,
You
okay.
can
All right, so what I did, look at my screen up here in front. I went, in the top right corner, there are three dots on the Chrome browser. I left mouse click one time. I then came down here to where it says settings, and I left mouse clicked again. Then came over here on the far left side where it says appearance. I left mouse click again. And then over here in the middle it says show bookmarks bar, and I turn that on. Okay? So that's all I did there. Now, let's try that again. All right, we went up here to agent.kw.com. I hovered over the little lock. I left mouse clicked and held it down without letting go. And I drug it down here to my bookmark bar, anywhere you want to drop it, and I dropped it. And so now I have a bookmark. Anytime you ever want to go to this website or UGA football, then you can do that. For Georgia Tech football, you'll have to find some high school site. But all right, now here's another little trick. Notice on my bookmarks up here that I have a whole bunch of them, and it takes up a whole bunch of real estate. If console login takes too much room, then simply right mouse click in the middle of console login and hit the edit button and simply type in KW, right? And by doing and hitting save, now I simply have a little button that says KW, and it doesn't take as much space going across my browser. Make sense? So you can do that to your heart's content.
Type in at Google Chrome, agent.kw.com.
All right. Anybody got any questions so far? We're about to get into Command.
Yes.
Now, your login into Command is the same login that you use for KW.com. Nothing different there. So however you normally log into KW.com, log in here. And raise your hand when you're in. Okay? All right, so I'm going to click on my name here, and I'm going to sign in. What was it that I used to make my screen bigger and smaller?
Control and your mouse.
Control scroll, right? Notice how much, all right, right here we can't see anything, but as I scroll down, now all of a sudden I can see everything. Can't read anything, but at least I know it's there. All right? All right. How many people have been into Command and have created a contact before?
I think I've done that, yeah.
Okay, so a handful of you. You may or may not have created your own self as a contact. So that's what we want to do right now. So over here in the top left corner, you see those two little guys that are right there? Left click one time. And hopefully your screen looks like my screen.
The two little guys up here.
Top left, two little guys. All right. Notice now, and you see I have contacts in here, but you probably don't, or you may not. In the top right corner, it says Add Contact. See the green button in the top right corner, or whatever color we call that these days? So I want you to go up there and left click one time, and your screen should pop up.
I don't have to do this for everyone.
Well, unless you import all 9 million of them in there.
But there's a way to import.
Well, not only that, but I'll give you a little, since you guys are here at the class, next week during the sales meeting, I'm going to show you how to use Kelly and just talk into it. Put all your contacts in there by talking into it.
Okay.
Okay?
When is that?
Can't tell you that. You just have to come find out.
Sales meeting.
It's weird, all your contacts just dropped into my computer.
That's because I told him to.
Okay.
I talked to him. I said, put them all in Scott. He won't have a clue what to do with them. All right. So for full name, just go ahead and put your full name in there. And then it says your primary email address. Obviously, you can have somebody's personal email address, you can have their work email address, you can keep a whole bunch of these things in here. And as you start filling this out, again, use your scroll wheel to scroll down the screen, put in the telephone numbers, and you see the thing that says tags? Boy, we could talk about this one forever. So what tags does is tags allows you to put people in a bucket, all right? If I wanted to say, I wanted to tag Eileen as maybe East Cobb or soccer fan or whatever, you can have tags. And the thing about a tag is a person, a contact, can have multiple tags. So you can tag them, any way you want to. So that in the future, if you said, golly, something just happened in Atlanta, and I would like to find all my contacts that I've tagged a particular way and send a mass email to just those people. So by tagging people, it allows you to filter them out so that you can do special things for them. Okay?
Now, does it let you make your own tags, or you just have to use the one that
Absolutely, it
always
allows you to
exists?
make your own tags. So let's do this. Go ahead and get your first contact created first, and then I'll show you how we can play with the tags.
Now, you skipped mark as lead or add to sales pipeline.
Okay, so remember the part about mark as lead? We want to mark, is it, if it's somebody that you've got a two-way communication with, they're a contact. If it's somebody you don't know from Moses, they're a lead. Most of the time, the only time that you ever use this for leads is because you're importing 500 at a time, okay? Most of the time when you're creating one contact by itself, you probably have a two-way communication with them and they're not a lead.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
So I think, of course, use CRM, I use my phone, but in eEdge when we started, and we did put information about somebody in there,
Mhm.
so when we copy that from there to this, and there's different notes in there, do those notes transfer to this? Or is it just the name and contact?
I can't
information?
answer that one, Eileen. I haven't tried it. I have never used eEdge, so I can't tell you that. So I don't.
Stacy, when she comes back, can probably answer that.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to just export into a spreadsheet all your eEdge contacts anyway onto that thumb drive you were talking about, just to have a backup.
You could
of
do
it.
that. Now, and we're not going to do this today, but we could do a whole class on how to import into Command. Because if I was to have a class on how to import into Command, and there was however many people in here, 15 to 20 people now, every one of you would have a totally different, what I call a system of record. You're using iPhone, you're using Google Contacts, you're using eEdge, you're using a spreadsheet. So one of the ways that Command allows you to do it is to import a spreadsheet, and that works really well. However, it's paramount that you clean your list before you import it into Command. Here's a little trick. In order to import a contact into Command, the contact has to have an email address. Doesn't have to be right, but it has to be an email address. Otherwise, it does not get sucked into Command. Okay?
Whereas eEdge, I think you could have an email address or a phone. You had to have one or the other.
You're right.
not both.
Right. So again, remember when I showed you the little thing with PieSync? PieSync knows those kind of things. Okay. So if you had a contact already in Command and you were to import the list tomorrow, and that same person is on the list, does it get imported?
Does it sync it?
Well,
Or
we've
does
already
it-
got a contact in here with that email address, and now you're trying to import somebody again with the same email address.
So what happens?
Who wins? Right? That's what happens. All right. Remember on my spider diagram where I said one way and two way? You can get yourself in a crack if you set up your eEdge or some other system to do a bi-directional synchronization, because now all of a sudden everything's getting duplicated and you're going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you go, oh my God, I just need to delete them all out. So then all of a sudden you delete them all out and you go, you forgot that you had bi-directional synchronization going on, and when you deleted them all out, guess what? It deleted them out over there too. And you're like, oh crap, I need to go to work for the post office now. I am screwed. So you got to be careful, how you set these things up. And as I said, we could do an entire class on importing, right? So right now, you asked a question about the mark as a lead. Since you know this person that you're entering in right now, don't mark it as a lead, and tell me everybody's got a contact done.
Yeah.
All right.
So do you do add to sales pipeline then? Do you have to do one or the other, I guess is what
No, you don't have to.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
You don't have to.
Okay.
No, you don't have to. You don't
Do you
have
want us to do one
No.
if we're putting ourselves?
No,
Okay.
no.
Hey Pete, quick, maybe off topic a bit. So when you create tags,
That's what we're about to do right now.
okay, and create email lists, can you also, out of Command, you'll be able to create a text list?
Absolutely.
And you could,
Well, all right.
Okay.
Remember my spider diagram, and one of the modules was a marketing module. As part of the marketing module, you can send a broadcast email, you can send a broadcast fax, you can do postcards to everybody. But what you do in your database is you go into your database and you filter by give me all left-handed males over 50, and it goes, and then you say, now send out the text message. Let me also tell you, because when Jeannie was asking about MailChimp and what does it cost, okay? So MailChimp, over 2,000 names in your list cost money. And I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But if you wanted to do broadcast texting also, say you wanted to text to 500 people, the integration into Command is through a company called Twilio. And after what happens, best I remember in Twilio is you sign up for a Twilio account and you give them a credit card and they ring up $20. Then every text you send is like 0.7 cents. It's not even a penny per text. It's less than a penny per text. And when you know how remember how we used to do 400 and you had that charge card, and after you went down 400 enough, it would automatically charge your card again and you keep on going? That's exactly the way Twilio does it. So if you wanted to do 5,000 texts and at 0.7 cents per text and your balance gets so low, then they go cha-ching and they fill it back up again. Okay, so texting is not free. Okay? All right, so let's talk about tags. Everybody has got a contact in there. So I'm going to go to this contact that I have right here. And if you'll notice, Aaron has system tags of buyer, seller, bald.
Okay.
All right.
So we're just in the one that we created. We haven't moved that.
And have you saved it? Scroll down and save it.
No. Just
Where does it
All right,
say?
your screen look like mine, Eileen?
I've got something to accept cookies, but the other one.
It said
Yeah, go
create.
ahead and accept it.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Oh, okay.
All right, and then hit save down at the bottom.
Okay.
Okay, so now at least we have one contact saved. All right, in the top right corner, do you see the question mark?
Mm-hmm.
This allows you to get help in a couple of 3 different ways. If you hit the question mark, it says go to Keller Williams University. And once you go to Keller Williams University, they got all kinds of, actually it's pretty good stuff, all right? And you get some quiet time, kind of curl up with this one and read it, but they got some pretty good tutorials out there. Chat with support and post an idea. So chat with support, this will kind of confuse you the first time. When you go to chat with support and it says, hey, great, what's your question? And you type in your question, you're actually not talking to a human being the first time you do that. It goes to the knowledge base and it tries to find the answer for you. Now, statistically speaking, 100% of the time that I've ever typed something in there, it has not found what I wanted. So then it says, well, if you didn't find what you want to chat with a real live person, then hit this button. And then you already typed, you typed your dissertation on what your question was, and it went away. So I've gotten in the habit now of when I type my question, I know that it's going to go to the knowledge base first. So I copy my question first, knowing that I'm going to have to hit the button that says talk to a real person. And then when I hit the chat button, you put your question in there all over again. It says, hey, great, we'd love to help you out. You are number 63 on the chat. All right. Now, some people say that they've been number 4 on the chat. I've never seen that. But anyway, I will say that every time that after the chat guy comes on, like 10 or 15 minutes or 45 minutes later, they've been very knowledgeable. I've never found somebody that couldn't answer my question. The only problem I've ever had is how long I had to wait. Okay? So that's what the question mark is all about. And then post an idea is you've got the greatest idea, you're Scott and you're in commercial and they ought to be doing this, that, and the other. Well, it allows you to post an idea. But what's actually kind of interesting about this is you can post your idea and then you can follow if other people have had the same idea and you can upvote an idea. So one of the things that I did with Charlie Lockwood the other day is he was asking me some of these questions and I showed him this. And then I said, now, Charlie, let me show you how you can go over here. And if you type in commercial, it'll show you every idea that one of the commercial guys has ever come up with, and you can upvote these things. Well, you can do the same thing if you're in you got some marketing idea or you got some texting idea or whatever. You can do exactly the same thing. So that's what the question mark is all about. Now, where I'm really interested is you see up here by my name, or your name in the top right corner, there's a little down arrow to the right of your name. I want you to click on, left click one time and go down to settings. And click on settings. And this is where, on this particular screen, this is where you set up connections to all these third parties that I was talking about. Right? In my opinion, this showing you how to set up all these connections right now is a little early in the training, so let's don't do that today. But what we do want to do is come over here on the left-hand side where it says Command Settings and there's a down arrow. I want you to left-click one time. Does your screen look like my screen?
Yes.
All right, and then we scroll down a little bit further and it says Custom Tags. I want you to left-click one time on Custom Tags. And I want you to notice over here on my screen that I have a whole bunch of custom tags. So I want you to come up with some custom tag that makes sense for you. All right? We can always delete
So I like
these
that
things.
Kelly one. because
Well,
that's-
Kelly by definition is going to happen. Remember I was telling how you can talk to Kelly and
Oh,
when you do
that's
that it automatically puts that tag in there. But I want you to create a tag that makes sense to you. It could be Atlanta United. It could be,
Arthritis Foundation for me, because it's a social group for me.
okay,
So that's.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that'll work. All right. So create a tag, and then in your tag, I want you to also, I'm going to create, top right corner, it says create new tag. All right. I'm going to create my tag, and I'm going to call it Tech Fan. All right. Actually, if I could.
I guess you
obviously,
won't
I'm
have a
from
lot of
Georgia. All right. And I guess since he's a Tech fan, we'll color it pretty close to gold. See the colors? And then I'm going to hit create. So now I can go back to my contact and I can tag that contact as a Tech fan. Make sense?
This sounds a lot like Evernote. I've used Evernote.
Very much
before.
like Evernote.
Yeah.
Very much like Evernote. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So you go to your picture, you hit settings, and then you hit,
Yep. Settings, custom tags. Settings, custom tags. Make sense? All right. Give me some ideas on tags that make sense for you.
downsizing.
Okay, perfect. I like that. That's a great one. Yep. Okay.
Apartment buyers.
Okay. Perfect.
My group just married.
Okay. Any other questions? And you see how you make it colors, correct? Okay. Now, one of the other things that you can do is you can create these things on the fly, which unfortunately can shoot you in the foot. What do I mean by that? Well, as you're creating a new contact, instead of going into systems like I just did, you could just type it. You could say downsizing. And it'll work. It'll automatically create it. It's not going to have a color to it. It's just going to say downsizing. But if you then enter another contact in tomorrow and you type in downsizing with a lower D and not an upper D, then you can have two separate tags. Okay?
Or you have a typo in there.
Or you have a typo.
You put an S at the end of it, bulldog versus bulldog.
Or tech,
fan.
T-E-K, right?
Yeah.
You spelled it correctly, but all the rest of them spell it T-E-C-H. But my point is that you can get in trouble by creating all these tags and not cleaning out your sock drawer. You got to kind of keep up with it. So go into settings, go into the tags, and then clean them up. But you can also, so let's kind of go with that for just a second. You created a whole bunch of tags, you got a typo in there, or even worse, you imported 500 people, and one of the fields in your database, you had a misspelling of the tag. So now all those names are in your database. Oh, golly. So what you do is you go into your database, you filter by the tag that's misspelled. You go check, 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 or you hit the button at the top that checks them all. and then you change the tag. Okay? So all's not over if you screw up.
So, do these tags, can you then alphabetize them? Because it's like you create all these different things, and you look for it, and you think, okay, like, what question?
I don't know. I haven't tried that.
I mean, just as I put these in, it's like, oh, the first one I came up with goes to the bottom, which maybe I would want that at the top,
Yeah.
because that's where my focus. Can you rearrange?
Okay, yeah. All right, so look at my screen up here.
Uh-huh,
All right, you see where it says tag name?
yes,
And you see the up arrow?
yes.
What that tells you, if you left click on that, it will alphabetize it
Ah,
A to Z, and if you do it the other way, it goes Z to A.
okay, okay.
Okay? It's a good question. All right.
Pete, maybe I missed this, but how do you actually connect a contact with a tag?
Okay, so I'm going to go back over here on the left where my contacts are. Okay, and I am going to add a contact,
All right, I got it, yeah.
and I'm going to type Bob's name in there, all his other information, and then right here where it says tags and
Oh,
hit
look at
select, I can either freeform type and misspell something, or I can hit the down arrow and it will show me all of the tags that I have.
Okay, there. I
Remember
didn't
that
see
we can tag a person with multiple tags.
Uh-huh.
All right, so you could tag it with downsizing East Cobb Arthritis Foundation. Now in the future, when we want to do some marketing, we want to do marketing to everybody that's arthritis, but not necessarily East Cobb. Okay, Katie, you had a question?
Can you delete a custom tag?
Yes. All right, so over to the far right
Okay.
on your tag. Let's see here.
Oh, you want to do this?
Because
Yeah,
I
that's
see
where
the
we
trash
want it.
can, but it's grayed out. It won't let
Escape
me.
out of this.
I know, but you have to go to the,
No, what you got to get out of this, hit cancel on this contact. Scroll down here, hit cancel that. So go into settings.
Mhm.
Over on the, all right, on the left-hand side, it goes to command settings. Go down to custom tags. Now, notice out to the right-hand side of the tag, there's that.
edit or delete.
Correct.
Oh, because mine, all the delete, it's all grayed out. It won't let me delete anything.
Because you may not have put anyone in, did you put anyone in that command?
Mhm.
That, you already have it in the list?
Remember, there are system tags and
But these are, well, personal, yeah. They still, none of them, I can't delete any
Okay,
of
I
them.
forget how.
Are you left-handed or right-handed?
Right hand.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Can't connect with DocuSign.
How do you get to
That-
create
I mean,
tags?
it's not
It's not there
I
yet.
can do it later.
well,
but-
yeah, you can connect to DocuSign,
Yeah,
but we're not going
but
to talk
I
about
think-
that right now.
Keanu,
Well, I
were
mean,
you
I've
suggesting
already
you
gone
did not?
through
No,
I was gonna say, well,
Going through
these
there
tags
to
I
log
can't
in
delete,
and
but I did
have
use
to
the
log in.
app.
Yeah, but that.
The ones that I have.
Okay, we will get back to you on tags.
If I have someone.
Deleting
I
tags.
can't delete it, but if I don't have.
Okay.
Get somewhere.
Like I just now go
Yeah.
back, like, how do I go back? Just go
That's
press
what I
my arrows and go back?
Okay, interestingly on
Use the
Pete's,
electricity over here.
I could,
It's accident.
it would let me delete social, of course it gives you the double dog dare, but it wouldn't let me do KA.
Because you have a contacts linked to it.
Right. So you got.
Okay, so
So I should
Katie,
unlink them first.
yeah, it's a triple check. So I guess if you have linked contacts, you can't delete.
Okay.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Go back to contacts.
Yeah, so we've created a contact, right?
Who are we gonna pick to go into?
All right, so you can either type contacts in manually, one off. All right, we're not going to talk about it today, but we can import a bazillion at a time so long as the spreadsheet is clean. Okay?
Can I just click to show?
Yeah.
Well, here's the
Yeah.
import
Yeah.
button, click, and you would just,
Let me also suggest, hit cancel for me just a second, Stacey. You see up here where it says download? That downloads the spreadsheet.
a template with the headings.
Right, so if you clean up your data and you put it in the spreadsheet, then it will import nicely. But if you're not careful and you don't clean up your data, it's going to be a freaking mess when it comes in there. Okay? Question?
Can we delete contacts?
Yes and no. The first time that you, quote, delete a contact, you actually archive them. So what they're saying is, hey, we love you, but we don't trust you. We don't think that you actually want to delete it. So we're just going to archive it. So if, in case tomorrow you really wanted to bring that person back, you can bring them back.
Kind of like in dot loop.
Yeah, kind of like dot loop.
Then you archive
Right.
it, you can always go
But
back.
then, if you say, all right, I know what I'm doing, I'm double dog sure that I want to delete this person, then you come over here to settings, and over here on the far left-hand side, you come to, you see the command or system, try global, see if that,
No.
oh, database, I'm
Then you
sorry,
go
yeah,
to
go to
database.
database.
And then you go to contact archive, and he has 2 that he's getting friends of his. What?
Well, you know, some people are friends and some people are real friends.
So you can restore or delete. Y'all see that?
Yeah, look at the times he entered those.
That's preparing for your class. I do this for you.
Man doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
So that answers your question. Now, what you can also do is you click in this square right here, and it highlights everybody, which also is another way. So while we're here, this is pretty good. So you click right here, and you can say all of these people. You see where it says select bulk action?
Okay, great.
All right. Add a note. These are all tech fans. Okay. Or add them to an email. But
This
the
is
bottom
kind of
line
like
is,
the edge. You know, how
yeah,
we
that's
did.
what we were talking about just before you walked in. Very much like that.
Oh, yeah. Wait. And then also that it defaults to 10 per page, but you can go up to 50. So when you really want to check a bunch at the same time.
Now, notice none of my contacts. If you look at my screen up here, none of my names are checked right here. Correct? But I want to do a filter because I'm like Jeannie and I got 10,000 people in my database. So when you click on the filter button right here, look at all the stuff we can do. Remember, we got system tags and we got custom tags. If I wanted to custom tag and put Arthritis Foundation, then it would go through my 10,000 contacts and just show me the people that were tagged Arthritis Foundation. Then I take that list, I run it into my email marketing module, and I send out an email about the gala presentation. Bring your checkbook, right?
Now, when you create tags, you can do it the same way by just, instead of having to tag each person individually, you can...
Yeah, actually that's a great question because a lot of times, you can do this in Google Contacts, right? Have anybody used labels in Google Contacts? So you can do exactly the same thing in Google Contacts. So you can bring all these people in and say, oh crap, I forgot to tag all these people. So now you brought them into command. You simply come in here and you go check this one, that one, this one, that one, and then you do a bulk and you put the tag in there as TechFan.
Is there a way of tagging, if you wanted to put, let's say you have one of these mega lists, and I needed to tag everybody in that list, do I have to do 50 at a time, or?
Today, I think you do.
I bet you if you hit filter, it's going to go through your entire database. Then it's only going to show you 50 at a time that match your tag.
Well, I want to put them in a tag. They
You
weren't
want to put
tagged.
them in tag.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you can only process in
Yeah.
today's command. They're
Okay.
going to get more flexible.
Is there any singular thing that you could index off of?
Well, everyone who Stacy put in these 9,000 names, they're all my bridal list names. I'd like to tag it that way, so now when I go in and I put in
Okay, have
another,
you added any beyond the 9,000?
No, so that's they're
Oh, then
clear.
we can do all.
That's what I'm asking. How can we do all?
Well,
But I can do this privately.
well,
with you.
yeah, everyone, if it's all of them. Selected 10. Oh,
I don't know. Well, all right,
I still
so
think.
I don't think it's a matter of showing. I think once you've filtered them, they're there, and then you can do the bulk.
Yeah, but look, it's still, I can only select what I can show at a time.
Oh, no, but he's only has 14 contacts in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Selected them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see,
Yeah,
I have
I've got-
show 50, so that's not a good test.
Well, scroll down on the side and see how many you go down, like just to look and
Add
keep
bulk
going like
tab.
Yeah,
that
he
to
has
see if there's
14
more.
in there.
Yeah, I only got 14
Oh,
minutes.
okay.
So.
No, it only lets you do 50, I just answered it.
Okay.
I hit everybody and then I did, but it'll, okay.
So we'll only check the people.
You know what?
that they
It's watch TV. You can just get a rhythm going.
Yeah, I just was curious,
Yeah.
because I'm.
That's
out
why
now.
they really recommend that you create your tags in command and make sure your tags in your imports,
Yeah, because I'm about to do like the directory of the neighborhood, but I want to keep those separate.
Good thing you're thinking about it
Yeah.
before.
Right.
Right, right, and that's why we're sitting here today, is to
Right.
think about those sort of things, so you're not in cleanup mode, or you'll have a long.
And believe me,
week.
some of the big wigs that do the live streams and teach the classes, they have put their databases in and archived and put them back in. They've screwed up so many times, so they have sympathy for everybody. They say, oh, just put 10 in to make sure you got it right. But they've screwed up too. So, or done things and went, oh, why did I do that?
Because
So,
once you do it, you've got to get it all out with the big production. Fix it.
You learn a lot doing this, All right, so now, on the left-hand side, you see all these little icons, and there's, 10 or 12 of them, I guess, up there. If you left-click and you hover over each one of them, it'll tell you what it is. And each one of these modules is a training class in its own. Okay, there's no way we're going to do all this today. All right? But one of the things I do want to talk about today is down here, you see the hands shaking? It says opportunities. All right, we talked a lot about
Let's make a deal.
opportunities before the break. So now let's talk about creating an opportunity. So click opportunity for me, Stacy.
okay, but there's another way,
You could absolutely do it from a contact.
I'm gonna just go in, I'm in, Ann has said, want to do something. Well, you already have one for Ann. Let me go back and pick just somebody else. Joe Green?
Gonna work.
Okay, so I'm in, Joe said, I want to do something. I can click on opportunity, create an opportunity, and I'm off and running, or I'm just on the home screen and I go down to the let's make a deal icon, click.
Now remember we talked about there's 3 types of opportunities. What are they? And notice right here, going across my screen, at the top it says listing opportunity, buyer's opportunities, and leases opportunity. Question, Scott?
Yeah, in dot loop, when we do an opportunity, for lack of a better term, we'll call it an opportunity, and we're loading up our documents and we want to send something out to their version of the DocuSign, we have to put in their email address and everything else.
Yep.
Can it still be done that way, or do we actually have to create a contact first?
Yes, B, you get one, but you only have to put their name. So you have to
We
have
have to
a
put their
contact
email
for the
address.
client.
Yeah.
Their way, you can add it as you're doing the opportunity, but there
Okay.
has to exist a contact, but it's not like you have to fill out much.
Okay,
Yes.
so like in dot loop, you just put in their name and their email address and then click.
Right, can I show you?
Yes.
So I'm gonna create an opportunity. Now, you talked through this is already, so right now
I've got a
see,
listing.
it's
I'm
looking
putting-
for a client and I can't create it here. I gotta pick from Pete's clients, so we were doing Joe Green. There he is.
So you add them as a contact first, and then you go do the
If
RFP.
it's a new client and new listing, they're not in any database.
So I would start over in
Well,
contact.
yes and no. All right. I'm going to argue with you that if you got a listing, you knew that guy at least before today, right? And he's probably already in your database.
He may not be in this database.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Stacy, I have a question.
So to answer your question, yes, you're going to have to create a contact before you create an opportunity.
Okay.
I've got a contact who wants to look for a house and lease his existing house. He already has a house. So can you do 2 opportunities
Yes.
with one
Not
guy?
can you, should you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's 2 deals. sides, so to speak.
So y'all know that we're, in Austin, we're known as Perimeter North,
No, I didn't
even
know.
though we're Atlanta Perimeter. Yeah, every market center has an official name. Sometimes it's the same, but somebody before us decided that, when it was founded, we were Perimeter North, but somebody then later decided that Keller Williams Atlanta Perimeter would be our doing business as name.
But we have another office that's in Glenridge. That's is that Atlanta North?
That's First Atlanta is,
But-
yeah.
There's not another one that's Atlanta North?
Atlanta North is East Cobb. Yeah, it's
Oh, wow.
really confusing,
Yeah.
really confusing. I just want you to know, that is us. And if you click the drop down, you don't get any other choices, fortunately. So you gotta use to dual identity. We're Perimeter North and we're Atlanta Perimeter. Sorry.
Let me tell you about this particular card. Some people call this a card. You see where it says opportunity name down here? Remember how in Dot Loop you could pretty much call it whatever you wanted to call it? What I am hearing the folks in Austin say is that the way they would prefer us to name these opportunities is it's going to come up by definition, last name, listing, and then you would go dash 123 Main Street.
Except when Ellie and Lauren are looking, it's really better for them to start with the street address.
So we can do anything we want to do in our
Yeah,
market
street
center,
address.
right? And so if this is what we want to do, then this is the way. There's nothing to prevent you from totally screwing it up, but this is the best practice.
And when you start with a buyer and you don't know the street address yet, you just start with Smith buyer, and then you rename it once you know the name. Because
So
when
you put, for opportunity name, you put buyer when you, instead of the street name, like that has listing.
Well,
So if it's
hit
a-
cancel down here at the bottom, or X out. All right, so we're going to do it again.
Okay. Oh, I see, okay.
So it's going to give you a default, and then you edit the default.
Got it.
okay, we're gonna say make it a buyer. I just want to know if Joe is mean.
He's a big old boy.
Is it mean, Joe Green?
Oh,
So you say green buyer. And that's fine to start with until you know
Got
what
it.
the street
Got it.
address is. But you want me to go back and make it a listing, right?
It doesn't really matter. Yeah, listings probably, it doesn't really matter. This is the part where I'm running out of time,
Yep.
and we're talking about the whole green sheet thing. So at a minimum, if you want to get paid going at some point in the future, when that day comes, you have to create an opportunity. You have to load some documents into the opportunity. You have to accept a contract, and then it allows you to put in your commission, and you can send it over to Lauren and Ally.
So we do one opportunity for each contract.
Correct.
So
Each accepted contract. All right.
so if you got a deal where you're on both sides,
Okay.
you do two different ones?
Yes. Because yes. Now, but let me also say, what happens if you're in a situation where you have multiple contracts on the same deal?
Yes.
There's only one that's going to be accepted, right? But one of the cool things about this software is it allows you to track that, so you can have all the stuff about contract number one, all the stuff about contract number two, and then you ultimately accept it. Well, all right, and all the stuff about contract number three, and then on one of these screens here, you hit the button and it presents it in a spreadsheet, and you go back to your client and say, hey, we got 3 offers. Let me show you the good, the bad, and the ugly about all of these.
Do you have one loaded?
I don't.
Okay.
But that's beyond the scope of what we're
That'll
talking
be the
about
next
right now.
class.
Okay, so now, yeah, all right. So remember our life cycle over here? I talked about how you take these cards and you can simply drag them from one stage to the next stage. Literally, you can drag it. All right.
And then it disappeared from here, but if I go and look at those, whoop, here he is.
It's funny how it goes crooked when you drag it.
Well, she's left-handed. If you're right-handed, it leans the other way. Okay, so now let's open up this listing right here. And then this is like, oh, you're sitting there going, oh my God, there's a whole bunch of stuff on this screen. You just need some quiet time to kind of look at this, but it's not that much stuff. But one of the things that we want to look at is, scroll down a little bit, up. All right, so this is a particular offer. Go back up for me. This is the offer. And if I wanted to go backwards, I could simply click where it says sales pipeline, and it goes backwards where we came from earlier. But in this particular card right here, we've got details stuff, and all the details show because this line is this underline right here, right? If I click on documents, the underline will go underneath documents. Go ahead and do that.
Okay, hold on.
Right.
And remember how if it's a buyer and you just have their name, you don't have the address? They give you the edit options all the time, and I could go in and change the name. Okay? So you do have time. I mean, we just said buyer Smith. You can do that. Okay, now we're going to documents, and the fun begins.
So when we go into documents, and in this case it's a listed document, this is where they're going to say these are all the documents that we require. Can you see where it says required right here? Or conditionally required down here? This is where Lynn LaCroix and company come in and tell you what you must have. All right? And
Just blew it up a little
let's
bit.
go to warranty deed, all right? See where it says add a file right here? You simply click on add a file, and you can drag and drop it from your computer right into there. All right?
If we had it. Ta-da.
Is it working yet? Because I tried doing this last week and it just went around in a circle and a circle. And a circle.
Well, one day last week, the
Especially if it
opportunities
was cheap.
module was down for a couple of hours. So the whole module didn't work.
Yeah, I think it was last Wednesday.
Yes, it is working now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I can go back and do it. Okay.
All right? And so this is how you drag and drop a document in. Okay? Remember we talked earlier about, what about that plat map that somebody gave you from 1812? Well, if you want to put that into your documents, then you'd simply file, upload, and drag that document in there.
Does it have to be a PDF file?
Yes.
It's just like .loop.
Yeah.
And the recommendation is that we keep GAR forms or HCBR forms up here, and things like the inspection report, list of improvements, we create a new, let's say you had, then you could, add into there, put the GAR forms at the top, non-GAR forms in the custom folders.
When you go to do your file upload, it'll ask you which folder would you like me to stick it in. Okay?
I got a question.
Okay.
Just to clarify Lita's first question, she mentioned that what if the other side is not represented? You mentioned that you have to enter the buyer and the seller. Does that not look like we're doing dual representation at that point?
All right, let me try to. All right. Command is not an e-signature system. You cannot send a contract from Command to somebody else. You have to use .loop or DocuSign or eSign from RDocs
And
or
then
zip
upload it.
forms.
It's not all integrated like it was with .loop.
Well, technically, what you were doing with .loop is you were only using .loop. You weren't using anything else.
Right.
So one of the things, you see where it says start a transaction right here? When we integrate, when DocuSign and KW come to a meeting of the minds and everybody's happy, then when you click on this button right here where it says start a transaction, it's going to dump you into DocuSign, and then you'll be back where you've always been, except it says DocuSign and not .loop.
How did you get there? Yeah, how'd you get there?
I don't see that.
You don't see it in yours because you don't have a connector into DocuSign. Remember when we went into system settings and connectors and all that? I told you, don't go just punching a bunch of stuff just yet, but go over here to
So you
settings.
did, I did it.
Yeah,
And,
okay.
But we don't do that yet because we're
I would not suggest you doing that yet.
I can promise you, there ain't no guard forms there.
Right.
It won't
So,
let you do it.
Wouldn't use one of those if I
Already
could
tried.
anyway.
You can't.
Well, the commercial
There
deal,
ain't any
yeah.
forms there.
Right.
So the guard forms, when are we gonna be able to use them?
They're going back and forth. They're depending on who you talk to, within a couple of weeks or within the month or soon.
So Stacy, do you
Whatever that
know
means.
the systems within KW Commercial that we have now, like Prospect Now and Client Look, are those gonna integrate?
I'm so sorry, but the Austin people hadn't done nothing for commercial.
I know.
So that doesn't mean that
that
they're not. They tell us on every live stream, the answer to every request is yes. It's just a matter of time. They're gonna keep building command, building it out until everything that every agent wants in terms of functionality is there. It's just not there today. So they will get to you eventually. So don't think you're losing anything.
So basically, the training wheels is still on the.
Kimmy.
So we keep using that loop.
Keep on, green sheets to keep exactly the same, and, you know, we won't just say, okay, start tomorrow. It won't be like that.
Alright, this is just your CRM for now.
And the green sheets the same way.
Yeah.
But we can start like loading in new prospects.
Absolutely.
Or
Oh, yeah. You're,
building our database within the system as we move forward.
I would suggest, if this is me personally, if I was advising you, I'd say, start entering some manually. And then when you say, I feel pretty good with this, I understand this thing about tags and I kind of understand about this, and then hit one of us up and we'll kind of show you, all right, now give me that database of 9 bazillion people you got, and this is how you enter them all in. But if you
or link them. So
correct.
that-
But if you would just willy-nilly stick them in this afternoon, you go, damn, I wish I could do that all over again because I give all these people the Arthritis Foundation tag and all these people, or I now understand that, oh gosh, 37% of these people don't have email addresses, so they didn't import it all, right? Enter them in manually today and start playing with it. And then the light will start coming on. And oh, by the way, there are a ton of videos out there on YouTube. You don't have to listen to Stacy or me sit up here and talk. There are a lot of videos out there that help.
I have one more question. Sorry to be controlling all the questions, but I have a few clients who are seniors. They do not do email.
Right.
What do I do?
You print it out and you drive over to them.
Are you talking about contracts or marketing?
Well, just keeping their
So-
information within command.
Well, you're still going to keep their information. You're just going to communicate with them manually.
You're gonna
No,
have
but I'm just saying, if they don't have an
and
email,
manually
you're saying if they don't
upload.
have an email, the system won't take them.
I thought that was like the gate.
Well, all right. So if that's the case, now,
I love that.
all right, we're streaming to the whole world, but so
You could add a contact without an email address manually.
Okay.
correct.
Every email address can only have one person,
That's correct.
but
But you could always go out and create a Gmail address that you created.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate email. If anything ever comes to us, it actually going to come to you. But
because you're probably not talking about dozens of people.
No,
but I will say this: in that scenario, all right, anything that you're going to do with them, it's going to be on paper, right? Everything they give you is going to be on paper. So you're going to come back into the office. You can go back to one of those scanners in the workroom. You're going to scan it all into your local hard drive right here. You're going to come right here into the documents, and you're going to go File, Upload, and
Just like we're doing in .loop for the same client.
exactly,
Same thing.
exactly, yeah.
Now, I just created Susie Smith with nothing, because I wanted to do an opportunity. I got nothing but her name. Let's say I want, and under that little pin, that's your ticket to edit. I just found out that her husband's on Title II. Add relationship, here we go. Click. It defaults to spouse, but it doesn't have to be a spouse. Oh my goodness, we got all kinds of relationships that it could be, that other person.
Child.
And I'm going to create Bob Smith. Add. Now, when I go down here,
So where'd you go?
hold on, I'm going to go back to contacts and show you that it actually created a contact box. So you can add, the spouse will have the same contact, but if you enter the second spouse relationally through the first spouse's contact, so I've got Bob Smith, I've got Susie Smith, but if let's go into Bob's, and it'll show that he is married to Susie, I believe. Let's see, where would I look?
Yeah, it'll show it under relationship.
All right, let me click this. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't see Susie auto-populating.
Oh, it
Oh, wait,
didn't
I'm
automatically connect them?
relationship.
That's strange.
And it did it the other day.
Yeah,
So
because
we'll,
it usually does.
mhm.
But so they'll always be separate individual contacts. It'll never be
Yes.
like Bob and
Because,
Susan Smith.
right, okay. Because for e-signing purposes, everybody has to have
True.
a unique email. But guess what? If you link them in the contact and you want to do a mail campaign, it'll say Bob and Susie Smith.
Okay, that's good.
That's what they've done. So you won't mail them, but that's the only case where you're going to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so I didn't see Susie's. I'll ask about that because that was weird. But just by adding Bob into Susie's, it did create Bob's own.
So when you go back to Susie, do you see Bob in there?
I am certainly expecting,
Scroll
here we
up.
go. I think I have to go into edit.
Finish it. No, no. See here. Not here.
Did you maybe
When-
not save it? Maybe what you put that in, but you didn't hit save?
No, because it created a
Yeah,
contact.
that's true.
Okay, cancel this. Let's go into. Well, I think it's there somewhere since we. We're just checking to see where all right, Pete, now you want to wrap up?
So to answer your question, yes, go ahead and start using it. Manually put people in there and start playing around with it. Because even if you screw something up, we know we can go in there and delete these people, right? But I would not suggest going in there and importing 9,000 people in there and then trying to clean it up.
Right, clean before.
When you paint the wall, it takes twice as long to prepare the wall as it does to paint the wall. So prepare the data before you import it in
Oh,
there.
there it is.
Okay? Now, we talked about Command is a platform, and it's made up of a whole bunch of modules. We talked a lot this morning about leads and contacts module. We've talked about the document management module, right? We hadn't talked any about marketing module or any of the other stuff, right? So there's a whole lot more to this, but you're way ahead of the ball game right now. You know how to log in. As a matter of fact, you got a bookmark, so it makes it really easy to log in, right? So I would say go out there and start playing with this, and let's see what happens.
Are you going to teach any more classes?
Oh, we're probably
Yeah,
going to teach them
do
for
you
the rest of your
have,
life.
do you have a thought on
Well, so,
next week? We're gonna have
So we-
classes Wednesday, Friday,
yeah,
Okay.
10 to 12.
yeah. And so, and it's kind of like a, I hate to use the word cohort, but it's kind of like the pledge. You're in this pledge class, so all of you have this much of experience right here. So the next class will be a little bit more stuff, right? And then a little bit more stuff. The challenge is when we do a little bit more stuff for next week's class, and then we get newbies in that same class.
Yeah.
So
right?
we're thinking that we will, like, we started off intro to command and then I renamed it beginner command.
Right.
Because we're thinking that we'll say, okay, next week with those two classes, one will be beginner and one will be intermediate. And of course, our naming convention can get all wonky, but yes, so that we try to steer, which is a bad word in our industry, people who haven't come to anything into the beginner class.
You know what you could do? Like put the date that it was.
Well, I was gonna say, why don't you do it like you do Ignite? Ignite class 1, Ignite class 2, 3, 4. So you just
Like a little.
It's kind of way your email's read to me. That's
It'd be
what
more
I kind of
effective
understood
if
it
you
to be.
I
did
know,
this class
it's just-
first before you did this class.
That's why I'm
You
here
read my
today.
email. You read my email. There
Right.
might be 2 or 3
Did you watch my
agents that
video?
didn't.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I did watch
I
a
did.
video,
You
but I
made it
can't
in the
show it on
lobby.
the screen. But that's a different video.
Well, you're not logged into the corporate network
At
right now.
3 a.m. before he started this. Is that?
All right.
Before
That's,
you
I
really
like
get Bill
that.
Hobbs out of his.
We could talk about just command 1, command 2, command 3.
So,
Or
so
can you
simple.
say what you're doing in that?
to some
It's
to some
marketing, it's
extent,
this.
what we've done today is you now have a foundation. So you see all these modules. Remember, I told you we could have a whole class on every single one of these modules. Now, whether we did this module tomorrow or that module tomorrow, it kind of doesn't matter. You now have a foundation. You're dangerous.
Pete, let me ask you a question. How
You know
long have
enough
you
to
been
be
working
dangerous.
on Command? How long have you been working with Command?
No,
A
he's
month?
being serious. It's not.
2 months?
He is a wise guy, but I don't think it's a wise guy comment. He's like just.
When they first announced it at Family
Just
Reunion
saying.
100 years ago, right? I was watching a live stream, and it said, "Hey, the next month or so, we're going to present this to you guys and let you play with it." Well, I'm like, dude, there's the URL right there. So I just typed it in, and guess what? It worked. So I created an account. I started using it.
You were in IT before.
Playing
you
with
came
it.
into
Well, you
Yeah.
were, yeah,
He
this is
knows.
what he does.
But I'm just wondering how many hours you put into it and your thoughts, having worked with .loop and worked
Actually-
with Command.
Well, that's a great question, and let me kind of act like a politician and say that we're talking about Command today, but DocuSign, we could very easily spend 2 or 3 hours
Sure.
just talking about DocuSign, right? And DocuSign is really just a connector into Command. And you're probably going to, people like Scott are going to use DocuSign way more than they're going to use Command. And DocuSign is just as powerful as Command, but it does a different job. It's a
I think
different
I've gotten a takeaway out of this. See, I thought Command was going to basically replace .loop, but in essence, it's a different kind of platform where I thought I was learning to actually how I'm going to change from .loop to Command, but it's really not. You have two different things. The DocuSign is still
That's right.
that's your .loop.
That's
Right,
correct.
correct.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely, Scott.
Absolutely.
Well,
100%.
I don't think I got that till today.
However, this
And
is the
that's
important part.
understandable.
This is the important part. You're absolutely right. So now you say, well, hell, I got to go down, learn DocuSign. You're correct. But if you want to get paid, you got to learn a little bit about Command, because you got to take some of the stuff in DocuSign and stick it in Command. Okay?
Well, the reason I asked my question, how long you've been doing this, because you obviously have seen it evolve along the way, and
Yes.
how long do you see it being before, it's to the point where all of us will be using it and it'll be functional and
It's ready for you to use today. Okay?
It is, but it isn't.
Software is never finished, ever, never. Okay, there will always be something else. Commercial's not even in there, right?
But are you using it to send out?
I have started using it a little bit. All right, I used more stuff in addition to this, but you can use it today.
But are you using it are you comfortable with everything it does and the?
I will be honest with you. I have spent so much time digging into this to teach this class that I haven't had time to cobble my own shoes. right?
Well, and Bob, I have my entire database in Command, but I'm not emailing yet,
Right.
okay?
That's-
I'm not
Okay.
communicating with people yet because I haven't taught myself how. I haven't learned how.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's on me.
Well,
It's
I'm
not that
guessing the system,
does
right,
it.
I would love to be able to do that and drop my constant contact that I use. but-
Absolutely.
But I'm not comfortable that this is going to send out a professional product without any bugs in it at this point in time.
So I think it's, contacts, just, get them in there. We all have to learn about opportunities, and because starting to talk with Ellie in the back end is going to be through Command, in terms of at least uploading your contract docs into opportunities and what the heck it is. But I think the next area of Command is going to be communication through Command that we're going to dive into, because that's what agents do. We communicate with our clients.
So you think this is coming really soon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, question.
I think I was saying the same thing he was saying. Like, so it's just a CRM right now. It's not where you can complete a whole transaction. Like, I'm saying like GAR forms and everything. It's just,
Yeah, well, see, the whole GAR forms thing is, remember the spider diagram where up here in the top corner we had all our document management systems, we had Dotloop and DocuSign, right? The GAR forms is plugged into DocuSign. Okay.
It's gonna be.
We need to
Correct.
start, like I don't use DocuSign, I use Dotloop,
so it's
so I need
just
to
a
learn
CRM
DocuSign.
for right now.
But you learned Dotloop,
Except
didn't
that
you?
we-
Right.
Then you can learn
Like,
DocuSign.
you're,
So.
Yeah, for now you have to stick with
purposes, we use
Dotloop.
DocuSign.
like for Dotloop, you can.
One second, let me see.
Hold
So
on,
everybody
too many
can
questions
hear the
at once.
Kimmy, you have a question?
Yes, so for transaction
As far as, like,
purposes, we use DocuSign.
Doing that.
We will.
E-signature.
Okay,
Yeah.
so from my phone and my iPad, I used to send my clients the contracts or whatever. Can you do?
We
that?
will be able to do that with DocuSign, absolutely.
And what about with these? Can I? If
But all right, so in Command
If I'm-
simply plugs into DocuSign.
so, if I'm traveling and I need to do a green sheet,
Yep.
and I only have my iPad or my phone,
Yep.
can I submit the green sheet from my iPad?
All right, go back to, open up one of these opportunities. All right, open up Joe Green over here. All right. In what used to be the green sheets, now are you talking about when all this is rolled out?
When we have to use
All right,
it.
so you understand when it's all rolled out, you won't be using green sheets anymore. So the way that we
Thank
create
the
a green
Lord
sheet
for that.
is all of these documents that you've already done anyway, and then you're gonna have an offer, right? And you're gonna have one offer or multiple offers, and then you're gonna choose one of those offers.
And this is where in the offer.
When you type this automatically gets sucked into the green sheet, so you don't have to do a green sheet anymore.
Okay.
So that's what I got a question. Like, once you put in your contact and you've set up an opportunity for them and they're buying a house, will all their names and emails, when you go to do the GAR form, will it just automatically load it?
That's the whole idea, and that's one of the.
So you don't have to retype it every time?
Correct, but you understand that that is a DocuSign issue, right? So the whole idea, so you basically, you have a love triangle between Command and DocuSign and the email, so the whole key is not have to replicate and enter it in. It's like going to the doctor's office. Why do you have to fill in the paperwork every time you go to the doctor's office when they already got all that stuff, right? That's exactly the goal, is to not have to triplicate and all that stuff. Yeah. All right, so I have a question for you guys. Not having a clue what to expect when you walked in here, what can I do better for the next class that comes in here?
I think you start with these.
You start with the screen right here?
Yes.
All right, what's the difference between a lead and a contact?
Well, a lead is somebody you haven't talked to,
Okay?
and then contact is a two-way communication. Yes.
Okay? So there's some baseline that we need to talk about before we get into this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But
All right, go ahead. Thanks.
I like everything that we covered. I think if you just have like, I think she mentioned say what we're going over, like an objective.
Okay.
Because I think it's so new to us.
Right.
We're expecting a whole lot, and we don't know what to expect. basically.
Okay, I like that. So when you walked in here, did you think that when you left, you would understand command, everything about command?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's fair. Good, thanks. Any other suggestions or thoughts?
Well, I think I would like to hear, like, why did they create this in the first place? What is it really supposed to do for us as agents? Is it mostly about being able to email and be in contact with our clients on a regular basis without a lot of extra work? Or is it an effort for us to document every step of our work?
It's a tool for you.
Is it, I understood that it was a way for us to keep our information away from Zillow and everyone else that's using it, that we keep it
You know,
in-house.
at happy hour, you know, there's all kinds of ideas that float around, but let me back up and say this. Even if there was no such thing as command,
Yes.
when we started talking a while ago, there are hundreds of CRMs out there
Correct.
that will do basically what command does.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of tools that would allow you to do what we're talking about doing if you so chose to use that tool.
Right.
Now, if you went out and you use Top Agent, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars, and it may do everything you want it to do. But you decided, I need this tool, and I'm going to pay money for it. All right, so here's a tool that Keller Williams has put a bunch of money into that says, hey, here's a tool, and oh, by the way, since you're here anyway, you can use it. It is a tool to help you do things that you used to do with another CRM. But if you're sitting here saying, I've never used a CRM before, then this is a paradigm shift. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And one of the,
And it's one login
For
to
everything.
do everything.
so when they
It's gonna be
first
a
started
problem.
promoting Command, there was some reference to it being a source of leads that we can purchase.
Well, all right.
Now,
So,
what's that all about?
all right. All these modules over here. One of these is called Design.
Uh-huh.
All right, and
But
holy
I think
mackerel.
she's talking about Lead Accelerator.
Yeah,
but I don't even
but
know
in
if
order
that's
in order
there.
for Lead Accelerator to work, you have to create a landing page. All right, in order to create a landing page, you have to design the landing page. So it's kind of like when she said, "Hey, when I came in here, I expected to learn everything about Command this morning." Holy mackerel! This is an MBA.
I didn't, no, I didn't.
This is
Okay.
this is
What about
math.
the
I clicked
website,
on
yeah.
campaigns. You can do some, you know, paid for outside. Oh my gosh, it's.
If you want to talk about social media and things like that, that's a whole nother day of good, bad, and ugly about
Are we
that.
gonna do that?
At some point, absolutely we'll do it.
Because you had asked for our different addresses. Are you gonna, I guess, some point show us how to?
So I asked for the addresses so that when we got to the part where we trained on how to import, then I would have some data.
Oh, okay.
It was for me.
It
to
took me
be-
like 3 times to have to keep on going back to your form to be able to get that.
Yeah, but you could go back to it, right?
You know what? I ended up filling, I apologize, I filled it out 3 times.
Actually, it only took twice.
So
I
are
only
you
took
sending,
it twice, but okay.
are you sending emails right now? Because I haven't gotten any of your emails.
They've been from me.
Yeah,
Okay.
Stacy's sent it.
He writes them, I send them. Because I've got everybody in mind.
Right.
So was it helpful?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I mean, definitely helpful, but at the same time, it seems if we do have a long path too. I was under the impression like, oh man, I gotta get in here and learn this because it's going away, you know,
Yeah, me
in
too.
a month. And
Well, this decision about extending .live came to our inboxes last night at 8:09.
Yeah.
So it's hot off the press.
Yeah.
So we all thought it was all going away too.
Yeah.
So we just got the good news of a breather. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
I'm gonna make a suggestion, but it's gonna mean a lot of work for the 2 of you. But, you know how they have modules for Ignite? Well, obviously KW needs that now for Command.
And you know what? They exist and we'll
So that's what, yeah.
try to figure
There's
out
a
how
lot
to
of stuff
I
out
know.
there.
show
That's
you
what-
under all sorts of recorded videos.